Chapter 1. Ah! Qin Xiao sat up from the bed covered in cold sweat. Here it is. Looking at everything around me that I am completely unfamiliar with. Aren't you watching a movie and sleeping at home? Qin Xiao has a bad habit of falling asleep while watching movies on his phone at night. It's fine if I watch a movie and then sleep, but I'm also afraid that my phone will run out of battery, so I watch the movie while plugged in the charger. I don't know if it's because the summer is too hot or if there's a problem with the heat dissipation of his phone. When Qin Xiao was in a daze, his cell phone exploded. Yes, the phone exploded. What happened to me? Did I travel through time? Qin Xiao was racking his brains to figure out what had happened. A large amount of memories flooded into Qin Xiao's mind frantically. After a while, Qin Xiao finally figured out his current situation. Time travel is certain, a parallel world similar to Earth. This person has the same name as me, but his fate is more tragic. My parents died in an accident and most of my family property was swindled away by relatives. I finally mustered up the courage to take a gamble and mortgaged my house to start a business with a friend. I was cheated by my friends and girlfriend. Not only did I lose all my money, but I also got into a lot of debt. Then, Qin Xiao glanced at the pesticide on the bedside table, commonly known as paraquat, which is highly toxic. The small and dilapidated rental house was converted from a garage on the first floor and was damp and stuffy. He had a debt of more than 3 million yuan, and all his assets were worth only more than 500 yuan. Betrayed by my best friend and my bedmate. How unlucky this is! Not to mention the real protagonist, even Qin Xiao who traveled through time and space feels like dying now. What AFG start? How about trying to see if you can travel through time again after dying again? Qin Xiao glanced at the paraquat on the bedside table. Forget it. It's better to live a miserable life than to die. If I die, it would be a great loss. I just owe some money. I'll slowly figure out a way to pay it off. This body is only 23 years old now, so I still have a lot of life to live. Qin Xiao comforted himself. Advertisement. Just as I was thinking about what to do next, suddenly, a voice sounded in my mind. Found the world entrance, system binding in progress. Any surprise? Qin Xiao perked up, sat up and lit a cigarette. After about 20 seconds, a dripping sound was heard in my mind. Binding successful, the system has been activated. Host Qin Xiao, a world entrance has been discovered. Do you want to cross over immediately? Wait, don't go ahead and travel through time right away. First, tell me what functions you have and what the world entrance means. Qin Xiao quickly said in his mind. This system can provide the host with a time travel service. The host completes the task and gains points, which can be exchanged for various items in the system mall. Open the mall and let me see what can be exchanged. The host does not have enough authority. The mall can only be opened after the host completes the task and obtains points. The system's voice was lifeless. Can you at least let me know what's there? Skills, gene strengthening, money, etc. Please open the mall as soon as possible for details. Although the system did not explain it in detail, Qin Xiao understood that his gold finger had arrived. What about the world entrance? What does that mean? Qin Xiao changed the question. Traveling to other worlds requires coordinates. I have detected some residual world coordinates on the host. The system was very considerate this time. It not only answered the question, but also gave Qin Xiao a picture in his mind. It was a scene that Qin Xiao was extremely familiar with. A huge and bulky steel armor was raising its right arm at the entrance of a cave, spraying flames outwards. There is an endless desert all around. Iron Man. Qin Xiao reacted and realized that this was the movie he was watching before his phone exploded. The entrance to the world is Iron Man's world? Marvel movie universe. That's a world full of superheroes. What mission can I accomplish with my body like that? System, this world is a bit dangerous. Can you give me some benefits before entering? Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to complete the mission. Qin Xiao bargained in his mind. You get what you pay for. The host should understand this principle. Besides, in the host's current situation, what else do you have to lose? Advertisement FKU. Qin Xiao was surprised to hear a hint of contempt in the system's voice which did not fluctuate at all. But what the system said was right, given my current state. What is there to be afraid of? I have finally traveled through time and space and now I have a system. How can I not seize this opportunity? Done. Crossing over, now. Qin Xiao had nothing to be hesitant about. This place was a mess without a system. I can only bear the debt and have to find a job to support myself. I have to slowly think about paying back the money, let alone seeking justice for the dead Qin Xiao. Congratulations, host. You are so brave. Please inform me before you travel through time. Real time will stop during the travel. You can travel through time without any worries. After completing the required tasks, you can choose to return to this world. This travel through time is about to begin. 3, 2, 1. As the system counted down, as soon as the words fell, Qin Xiao's eyes went dark and he lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I was already on a shabby street. There were not many people around, and the ground was littered with garbage and fallen leaves. The two-story buildings also look very shabby. It was clear that this was a very poor neighborhood. System, tell me where this place is. Qin Xiao asked in his mind. The identity has been loaded, and the relevant memories have been generated. Please read them yourself, host. The memory given by the system is very strange. Compared with the memory of that dead ghost Qin Xiao, it is completely integrated into Qin Xiao's mind. The memory of his identity in this world is like a book that Qin Xiao needs to flip through, and he doesn't have the feeling of personal experience. Qin Xiao, 22 years old, graduated from the University of California, Los Angeles. He performed well in school and received a scholarship from Stark Industries. This earned him an internship at Stark Industries. It seems that the system is not bad. At least it gives an identity that is relatively close to the protagonist. Although it is very unrealistic for an intern to meet Tony Stark, at least there is a little chance. After mumbling a few words, Qin Xiao continued to flip through his memories. Now it gets interesting. When Qin Xiao was 13 years old, a black family's home next door was broken into by a large number of Hydra terrorists, and the fighting spread to their home. His parents died in that battle. I don't know if it was out of guilt, but the black man has been sponsoring Qin Xiao's studies and life. They have maintained good contact over the years, and this time Qin Xiao came to Baltimore, the capital of Maryland, to find the black man. Tell him the good news that he got an internship at Stark. The identity of the black man is Isaiah, the first super soldier before Steve Rogers. Popular science, Isaiah, the first-generation super soldier, appeared in Falcon and Winter Soldier. He joined the army during World War II and was transformed. Later, he failed in his mission and was imprisoned in a cell and subjected to human experiments by the government for 30 years. After being released, he was often hunted by Hydra. Among them was Winter Soldier. Advertisement. Chapter 2. Qin Xiao didn't understand why the system gave him such an identity. I don't know why I was thrown here. When I asked the system, it told me to let the host explore on his own. But judging from my current identity and experience, the system is not in vain. In order to better fit into this role, Qin Xiao constantly flipped through the memories related to Isaiah along the way. After walking about a street, Qin Xiao came to an old house. After hesitating for a moment, he reached out and rang the doorbell. Who? A dark-skinned old man with a lot of grey hair and beard walked out, but from his appearance you would never tell that he is 88 years old. He looks to be in his 60s at most. By the way, Qin Xiao arrived in 2008, before Tony Stark was kidnapped. Oh. Qin Xiao, my child. Are you okay? After seeing Qin Xiao, Isaiah opened the door enthusiastically and gave Qin Xiao a hug. Qin Xiao hesitated for a moment, but still put his hand on Isaiah's back and hugged the old man. What's the matter with you, kid? What happened? Isaiah felt that Qin Xiao was a little strange and asked in confusion. Oh, nothing. I just feel that you have been like this since childhood. Now that I have graduated from college, you haven't changed at all. I feel a little emotional. Qin Xiao answered cleverly. You know, I age a little slower than the average person, and my body is a little stronger than the average person, so. Isaiah spread his hands and said helplessly. The ability that Super Serum brings to him can only cause damage to him. The 30 years of being subjected to human experiments without seeing the sun tormented him every moment. Come on, come in, don't talk about those unhappy things. Isaiah pulled Qin Xiao into the house. In the plot arranged by the system, Qin Xiao saw Isaiah Superman when he was a child. For a long time after Qin Xiao's parents passed away, he lived with Isaiah and there were no secrets between them. Later, Isaiah was afraid that Hydra would come again, so for Qin Xiao's safety, he sent him to a social welfare home. Just secretly give Qin Xiao some financial support. Didn't you say you were looking for a job in Los Angeles? Why did you suddenly come all the way east to see me? It can be seen that Isaiah was very happy to see Qin Xiao, but he did not agree with Qin Xiao coming to him suddenly. Advertisement because of security issues. I got an internship at Stark Industries, and I thought I should tell you. Qin Xiao tried hard to make his expression look a little prouder. Oh my god! Stark Industries, this is amazing, I knew you could do this. We need to go out and do some shopping and have a nice drink tonight. Isaiah said happily as he stood up. Bang! The two of them were originally sitting face to face. As soon as Qin Xiao finished speaking, Isaiah suddenly stood up and took 2 steps to the side. At this moment, a gunshot was heard, and a bullet went through the window and whizzed past Isaiah's head where it had just been. It went straight through Qin Xiao's chest and abdomen from top to bottom. Qin Xiao was not prepared at all. He only felt a numbness in his chest, and then blood slowly began to spread along the fibers of his clothes. FK, it's so unlucky. Qin Xiao muttered something, tilted his head and fell into unconsciousness. In the darkness, Qin Xiao felt that the blood in all the cells in his body began to boil. It was an itch that went deep into my bones, as if thousands of ants were constantly crawling around in my body. Then came the pain, as if my whole body was being crushed into pieces by a huge amounts of hydraulic press. And Qin Xiao's own consciousness seemed to be trapped in endless darkness. I felt the 2 extreme pains of pain and itchiness, but I didn't even have a carrier to struggle. It was unknown how long it had been before Qin Xiao slowly opened his eyes again. The first thing that caught my eye was Isaiah's red-eyed face. You finally woke up, kid, bless you, damn it, I told you you shouldn't have come back to see me. Isaiah's face was filled with surprise, guilt, and self-blame. What happened? I was shot. Qin Xiao struggled to sit up. It was a dark room, more like a basement or something. On the bedside table was a machine for checking heart rate, with a tray on top. Inside were a scalpel, tweezers, and some bloody gauze and cotton. There was also a bloody bullet. Looks like I'm fine now. Qin Xiao used both hands to try to sit up completely. It was strange, but I didn't feel the pain in my body as I expected. Advertisement Qin Xiao took a look at his body and found that the wound had healed and scabbed. There was no pain at the wound, but a slight itching sensation. This is when the wound is nearly completely healed. How long have I been unconscious? Qin Xiao asked in surprise. Less than 3 hours. Isaiah raised his hand and glanced at his watch and said. What about my wound? Qin Xiao asked, pointing at his chest. You lost too much blood. After I dealt with the killer, I didn't have time to send you to the hospital. I could only risk saving you myself. Fortunately, I prepared some common medical equipment. As for your wound, I told you that there was no time to go to the hospital. I remember that you and I have the same blood type. I knew it was very dangerous. Fortunately, you did it and successfully survived the transformation of the serum. Isaiah said with some guilt. Qin Xiao was delighted. Doesn't that mean that he had injected super serum in disguise? There were some waves in my heart, and the strength in my hands was inevitably unbalanced, so I exerted a little force. Qin Xiao discovered that the metal guardrail next to the simple hospital bed was actually crushed by him accidentally. I became a super soldier. Qin Xiao looked at his hands in disbelief and said. I didn't prepare anything, and when I got shot, I woke up and became someone like Captain America. I'll get you a glass of water. Compared to Qin Xiao's excitement, Isaiah just sighed, silently got up and went out to pour water. System? What on earth is going on? Don't tell me that this has nothing to do with you. Qin Xiao called the system in his mind. A great gift pack for newbies. This world is so dangerous, this system will always give the host a little bit of capital to survive. Isn't this a surprise? And Qin Xiao almost vomited blood. Super soldiers are good, but could you have told me in advance? Also, does it have to be this way? Qin Xiao directly stated what he meant and questioned the system. This is to allow the host to perfectly integrate into this world, and to better explain the origin of ability. I hope the host will understand my good intentions and not be reckless. If you have the guts, come out and see if I can chop you to death. Advertisement. Chapter 3. A super soldier directly transfused blood to an ordinary person and successfully gave birth to another super soldier? Qin Xiao actually thought this was nonsense. But this is the Marvel world, and a bite from a spider might transform you, not to mention that you have the system. Anyway, no matter what, I finally have a little ability to protect myself, right? Just now, Qin Xiao tried it casually on the road and easily lifted a pickup truck with one hand. Although only one side was lifted due to the angle, from his own feeling, the weight of a car seemed to be nothing to Qin Xiao. Isaiah felt very guilty about this incident. After instructing Qin Xiao not to show his ability casually and making sure that Qin Xiao's injuries were not serious, the poor old man drove Qin Xiao out of his secret basement with red eyes. Qin Xiao knew that once he left, the old man would probably move away and wouldn't be able to find him easily in the future. Although the relationship between the two was modified by the system, the affection this old man has for me is real. I will find a chance to make it up to him in the future. Anyway, according to the plot, Isaiah is still alive and well after the end of Avengers Alliance 4. Just take care of yourself now. Because the system has already released the first task. Get close to Tony Stark and successfully attract his attention so that he will remember your name to facilitate the subsequent tasks. P.S. Although the host has equipped the system, he still needs to cling to the rich people as he is a newcomer. In fact, the task is quite difficult. Who is Tony Stark? He is a genius scientist, CEO of Stark Industries, and the richest man in the United States and even in the world. Especially with his current personality, it is extremely difficult for ordinary people to get along with him. I can't use the power I got from Isaiah's blood to get close to him. Let's not talk about whether people will call the police or not, just look at Isaiah's past experience. Qin Xiao doesn't want the government or the military to conduct human experiments on him. I'll think of a solution slowly, but in 2 days I'll have to report to Stark Industries. Qin Xiao bought a plane ticket and flew across the United States from the East Coast to Los Angeles. Stark Industries is very large, and they have office buildings in New York and Los Angeles. The place where Qin Xiao is interning this time is the headquarters of Stark Industries in Los Angeles. Advertisement: the internship position is laboratory assistant. The so-called laboratory assistant is actually a younger brother or a handyman, working as a helper at Stark Industries, copying documents and serving tea. In this way, Qin Xiao became a 9-to-5 office worker in the Marvel movie world. Every day he travels between Stark Industries and his own small apartment. Fortunately, Stark Industries pays well and the work in the laboratory is easy enough. Life is pretty good, but the mission is still a long way off. After more than 2 months of classes, I still couldn't even get close to Tony Stark. Qin Xiao had never even seen him once, but he was the villain in Iron Man. The big bald guy named Obadiah has been to the laboratory several times. But Qin Xiao only saw it from a distance. This is not a solution. When will the task be completed? You have to know that it is April 2008 now, who knows when Tony Stark will go to Afghanistan. Once he becomes Iron Man, it will be even more difficult to approach him. Qin Xiao was sitting in the tea room, staring blankly at a cup of coffee. A middle-aged man in a white coat and a Mediterranean hairstyle entered the tea room holding a cup. Qin, why do you look so depressed? Did your girlfriend dump you or did you run into some trouble? Come and tell me. You know, people my age can always give young people some good advice. Oh, Dr. Rex, thank you for your kindness. I just feel that this job is a little different from what I imagined. Qin Xiao definitely couldn't tell him his true thoughts, so he said it casually. Oh, young man, don't be so pessimistic. Every newcomer here starts as an assistant. You should be calm. I remember you have been here for almost 3 months, right? Then congratulations, your internship period is about to end. After looking around and seeing that there was no one around, Dr. Rex whispered to Qin Xiao in a mysterious tone. I heard that when the interns become full-time employees, the big boss will come down to interview them personally and assign them suitable positions. This is a rare opportunity, so you must cheer up, young man. Big boss? Qin Xiao asked doubtfully. Tony Stark, oh my god, what is the name of our company? Stark Industries, who else could it be? I gave you an A grade, get ready. Advertisement: it is the tradition of Stark Industries that every new person entering the company has to intern in different departments for 3 months. They will then be recommended and scored by the department manager, and then interviewed and assessed by the Human Resources Department, and their job will be reassigned. The director of the laboratory where Qin Xiao was interning was none other than Dr. Rex. The information he revealed was very important to Qin Xiao, if it was confirmed that the person coming for the interview would be Tony Stark. Then Qin Xiao needs to think carefully about how to attract Tony Stark's attention. The 3-month deadline soon arrived, and Qin Xiao came to the laboratory early this morning. However, I was informed that I didn't need to work in the laboratory today and had to go directly to the top floor for an interview. Qin Xiao was delighted. He had been working at Stark Industries for a few months and he knew this. The top floor is Tony Stark's personal area, which not only has a small laboratory and office, but also rooms with various fitness and entertainment functions. Except for Obadiah, Pepper, and a few others in the entire company, no one else has the authority to go up. Asking myself to go to the top floor for an interview, it seems Tony Stark is really coming today. Qin Xiao went up to the top floor with great interest. First, he was taken to a small meeting room, Tony Stark's personal bodyguard. Happy came out first and did a serious safety check on everyone. Then the order was arranged for more than 10 interns. Unfortunately, Qin Xiao was the last one. After sitting in the conference room for about 10 minutes, I saw little Lei Jiao coming with a folder and calling people's names one by one. Maybe it's because of the difference in aesthetic tastes, Pepper looks a little younger than in the movie. But the female characters in Marvel movies don't quite fit Qin Xiao's aesthetic. Qin Xiao still likes Black Widow and Scarlet Witch in the early stage more. Well, then it seems that I will have a chance to meet both of them. Qin Xiao began to feel inexplicably excited. Tony Stark interviewed very quickly, almost 3 to 5 minutes per person. Soon, people in the meeting room left one after another. Until finally, little Lei Jiao opened the door and called Qin Xiao's name. Xiao Qin. After reading Qin Xiao's name with a little confusion, little Lei Jiao looked at Qin Xiao and said with a smile. You can come with me now, Mr. Stark is waiting for you. Advertisement. Chapter 4. There is a ring in the interview room, which seems to be where Tony Stark usually works out. It looked very familiar. Qin Xiao looked at it for a long time and then remembered that this seemed to be the place where Tony Stark interviewed Black Widow and Iron Man 2. This is very consistent with Tony Stark's personality. Sitting in the office with a stern face is not his style. Korean. Qin Xiao had just come in when Tony Stark opened the door and asked. Me? I'm Hyuxia. Qin Xiao pointed at himself and said. Yes. Tony Stark clenched his fist and made a victory sign. Happy, who was standing next to him, took out a $10 bill with a sullen face and placed it on the table. These two guys were actually betting on themselves. Qin Xiao walked up to Tony Stark while complaining in his heart. To be honest, I don't really like facing other people. I'm not targeting you. I just don't like facing strangers, especially men. If I hadn't promised you all at the board meeting this year, I wouldn't have come here to read your internship reports. So let's hurry up now. First of all, congratulations, Mr. Qin, your internship report is quite outstanding. Your lab supervisor gave you an A-level evaluation, saying that you can be very helpful to everyone in the lab. So now there is only one question left, do you want to continue to stay in the lab or go to the legal department to do the legal work that you are better at? Qin Xiao's information showed that he graduated from the law department, so Tony Stark asked this question. To be honest, I don't really care. It depends on how you guys arrange it. Also, Mr. Stark, law isn't actually my specialty. Qin Xiao spread his hands and said. Oh. Tony Stark looked down at Qin Xiao's information and said jokingly after making sure that he was not mistaken. Is it Hyuxia Kung Fu? I do know a little bit of Hyuxia Kung Fu, although I'm not particularly strong. For example, I can only deal with, about 10 of the burly bodyguard next to you. But this is not me. Wait, I have to interrupt you. You just said you can handle 10 of them. Me? Happy on the side couldn't stand it anymore and interrupted Qin Xiao directly. I'm sorry, boss, I have to interrupt you. This is a matter of my dignity. Happy has been with Tony Stark for more than 10 years and is one of the people he trusts the most. Advertisement so speaking is more natural. But after the two of them made such a fuss, Tony Stark became much more interested. He ignored Happy's words and instead spoke to Qin Xiao with interest. You haven't answered his question yet. Are you sure you can handle 10 of his kind? He admired Qin Xiao's confidence, but Tony Stark would never believe that one man could beat 10. But as young people, it is normal to speak in an exaggerated way. But Qin Xiao nodded very seriously. About that, 12 at most. After all, he looks pretty big and he still needs to expend some energy. With Qin Xiao's current physical condition, he could easily knock down 100 ordinary people like Happy with just one punch, let alone 10. But it doesn't matter. As long as I've attracted Tony Stark's attention, I've accomplished the mission. But Happy was obviously a little angry, as Tony Stark's personal bodyguard. It was bad enough that his fighting ability was questioned, especially since the other party looked like such a weak young man. Boy, I don't know if your Huxia Kung Fu is as powerful as you boast, but I can give you a chance to take back your words, otherwise. Happy took a step forward and clenched his fist towards Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao smiled slightly, without paying any attention to Happy, but went straight to a sandbag. He twisted his waist, inhaled, stepped forward, and punched the sandbag hard. Bang! The sandbag was directly broken by a punch. Oh! My God! Oh! My God! Tony Stark and Pepper were both surprised. The Kung Fu I learned is not very good at competing with others. I am not very good at controlling the power. Are you sure you want to continue now? Let me make it clear first, I don't have money to pay for medical expenses. After Qin Xiao finished speaking, he could clearly see Happy's Adam's apple roll and he swallowed a big mouthful of saliva. Okay, come back, Happy. His punch is more powerful than the world champion. You don't have to worry that I will fire you for this. Tony Stark stood up, walked over to Happy, patted him on the shoulder and tried to smooth things over. Then he asked Qin Xiao. Advertisement, how did you do that? I mean, that was clearly beyond some. I mean, that seems very unscientific, do you understand me? Tony Stark was clearly interested. Qin Xiao finally breathed a sigh of relief. Because the system prompt has sounded. Congratulations, host. Your performance just now left a deep impression on Tony Stark. He will remember your name. The mission is successfully completed. You will be awarded 500 points. It is detected that the host has obtained points, and the system mall is open. Qin Xiao breathed a sigh of relief after finally completing the task, but he didn't have time to check what was in the mall. Instead, he smiled and said to Tony Stark. It's just a skill that bursts out in an instant. It takes years of practice. Years of practice. Tony Stark muttered a few words under his breath. If I learn this kind of fighting technique from you, can I reach your level? As he spoke, he gestured as if he was punching a sandbag to burst it. I'm sorry, Mr. Stark. With all due respect, these skills require tedious and painful practice day after day. I don't think you can do it. Qin Xiao shrugged. Tony Stark was really interested, and Qin Xiao really had no way to deal with it. He had no skills at all. This is what happened after Isaiah gave him a random blood transfusion. If there is no system, we don't know whether we can withstand the mutation. But in Tony Stark's eyes, this behavior became a kind of contempt. You doubt me? You think I can't do it? Tony Stark said in a somewhat competitive tone. He was just asking out of curiosity. He is selfish, arrogant, and self-righteous. But he is definitely not the kind of person who has no self-awareness at all. He knows exactly where his strengths lie. But for some reason, Qin Xiao's words made him feel a rare sense of dissatisfaction. Just like when he was a child, his father always praised Captain America Steve Rogers in front of him and then criticized him for being useless. Advertisement. Chapter 5. Pepper, do you think I can learn his Kung Fu? Tony Stark turned to look at Pepper and asked. Little Chili Pepper looked embarrassed. Tony, you are assigning jobs to those who have passed the internship today. I think we should finish our work first and then discuss learning Kung Fu. No. 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 I have found a good job for Mr. Qin, my personal fighting coach. You are responsible for making an appointment with him and discussing the salary. Tony Stark said with certainty. I need to get back to my lab now. I have a set of missile data to process. You can arrange the time, Pepper. Goodbye, coach. Tony Stark certainly didn't ask Qin Xiao whether he agreed or not. He just picked up his coat, stood up and left on his own. This is indeed very Iron Man. Even in his previous life, when Qin Xiao watched Marvel movies, Iron Man was his favorite. I still have the urge to punch him in the face. If you want to teach me, then teach me. Have you asked me? But in order to get closer to the character, Qin Xiao smiled self-deprecatingly and said nothing. Chili took a step forward and said with understanding. Sorry, Tony has always been like this, I hope you don't mind. Qin Xiao shrugged indifferently. It doesn't matter. At least I know he won't let me down in terms of salary, right? Little Pepper also smiled, as you wish, you will definitely not be disappointed. Elementary level super serum, the kind that Captain America injected, it initially breaks through the limits of the human body, changes the gene sequence, greatly increases strength, speed and metabolic rate, and has a certain anti-aging effect. 1000 points. Money, real world 1 million/1 point. After redemption, the money can be directly transferred to the host's bank card. It is safe and has no future problems. Elementary level fighting skills, the level of the world's top special forces fighters, a combination of various fighting techniques, fast, accurate and ruthless, emphasizing one-hit kill. 200 points. Elementary level weapon proficiency, ability to skillfully use most cold weapons and initially master the skills of using each weapon. Advertisement 200 points. E-level combat uniforms can be disguised as any everyday clothing and can withstand any known ammunition firearms, except special ammunition, such as vibranium, URU metal, etc. They also have a certain degree of damage reduction against small thermal weapons. In addition to being bulletproof, they can also resist damage from cold weapons made of general materials. 300 points. E-level cold weapon customization, a suitable weapon can greatly increase your combat effectiveness, especially when facing some opponents with super defensive capabilities. For E-level power, you can refer to the E-level combat suit. 300 points. Qin Xiao thought that once the system opened the mall, everything would be open directly, but it turned out to be just a first-level mall. With just a first-level mall, Qin Xiao felt that the 500 points he had were not enough. However, Qin Xiao already had the effect of elementary level super serum, so he saved the most expensive one. After thinking for a long time, Qin Xiao decided to choose elementary level fighting and E-level combat uniform. One reason is that 500 points is just right. The second reason is that he can use elementary level fighting now, and it is also the best option to increase his combat effectiveness. As for combat uniforms, one reason is that the points are just right, and two because defense against thermal weapons is still very necessary in the early stages. And according to the plot, whether he is facing Ironmonger in the end or going to Afghanistan to fight, with this combat uniform, Qin Xiao will have fewer worries. At least he is not yet indestructible. The second level mall needs to accumulate 5,000 points before it can be fully opened. Qin Xiao could only replace these two to improve himself. The system has not given any tasks for the time being, but Xiao Lajiao offered Qin Xiao a weekly salary of $100,000. This made Qin Xiao's life in this world much more comfortable. But since the last time they met, Tony Stark seemed to have plunged into the laboratory. He didn't even ask Qin Xiao to go to his class, which left Qin Xiao with nothing to do for the time being. In desperation, Qin Xiao had to go to the bar every night to enjoy a rich nightlife. Because Hollywood is here in Los Angeles, the bars here are definitely world-class. After all, so many celebrities and rich people gather here. Recently, Qin Xiao found a bar that suits his taste, the Roger Room. Advertisement. The reason is that this bar is mostly populated by young people, including many young couples, single young people, and young actors who have just arrived in Hollywood and are not yet famous. Relatively speaking, compared to other bars, the people here are simpler. Although Qin Xiao also came here with the intention of hunting for beauties, he didn't want to meet girls who were too sophisticated or who were after the dollars in your pocket. The most important thing is that Qin Xiao doesn't like people who smell too much like worldly people. After several consecutive days, Qin Xiao finally set his sights on a target. She must be a little girl who dreams of becoming a star, and she has a very delicate appearance. Qin Xiao has been secretly observing for several days and decided to take the initiative today. Just as I was about to get up, a slightly hoarse but seductive female voice suddenly came to my ears. Hey! Are you leaving? Why don't you stay for a while and have a drink with me? Qin Xiao turned back subconsciously. I almost said the word FK out loud. The woman in front of me was none other than Black Widow. Just like Pepper Potts and Tony Stark, I don't know if there is any automatic correction after coming to this real world. Black Widow looks a little more childish than in the movie. Today she is not wearing the black tights that makes people's blood boil. Instead, she was wearing a bright red dress that was elegant and graceful. An angel's face, without any of the roughness of Westerners. The snow-white skin reflected a little under the light. The proud breasts reveal a part of their roundness under the clothes, matching the shiny white skin. It's absolutely amazing. Qin Xiao couldn't think of any other adjectives. If you think Black Widow doesn't look good now, watch Scarlett Johansson's early movies. She has an absolutely angelic face. Here is the corrected look of her when she was young. One of the first-generation heroes of Avengers, he gave Qin Xiao an incomparable shock as soon as he appeared. Definitely. Although Qin Xiao was shocked, he was not obsessed with it. He first went over in his mind whether there was anything that had happened to him that had made him be targeted by S.H.I.E.L.D. or Hydra since he came to this world. The only intersection should be the assassination on Isaiah's side, which should be done by Hydra people, but the killer should have been eliminated by Isaiah, and the system's arrangement did not allow him to be exposed to their sight. It should be safe. Advertisement. Chapter 6. Black Widow is S.H.I.E.L.D.'s ace agent. Qin Xiao knows that she would not appear in this bar for no reason. But as long as it is not directed at him, Qin Xiao is not afraid of trouble. Not to mention that she is an important character in the plot, just looking at her angelic face and devilish figure, there is no reason to miss her, right? Qin Xiao's thoughts turned several times in an instant. Seeing that Qin Xiao had not spoken for a long time, Black Widow slightly opened her red lips and spoke again. What happened? Do you not understand English or do you not want to talk to me? Excuse me, I was just thinking about how to trick such a beautiful lady into coming to my apartment to spend the night with me. With the burden no longer in his heart, Qin Xiao smiled slightly and sat back down. That depends on your ability. Black Widow smiled. Waiter, bring a drink according to the temperament of this beautiful lady. Qin Xiao snapped his fingers and handed a $100 bill to the waiter. Take the rest as a tip. Thank you, sir. The waiter rarely saw such a generous customer, so he bowed slightly and thanked Qin Xiao. Don't thank me. If the drinks you mix don't match the temperament of these ladies, I will punch your balls into a burrito. Qin Xiao has been coming here every day recently. He sits at the bar every time and has become quite familiar with the bartender. He shrank his neck, smiled, and quickly prepared a cocktail for Black Widow. Burrito, the handsome boy is quite humorous, that's a bonus. Black Widow said with a smile. Qin Xiao noticed that Black Widow's eyes occasionally looked at the three burly men at the innermost table. He didn't care, but looked into Black Widow's charming eyes and said, I have many more points to add to my resume. You have plenty of time to learn more about me. The Asians I know are more reserved, very few are like you. That's because you don't know enough Asians. The two of them chatted casually. After chatting for about 10 minutes, Qin Xiao noticed that several men got up and were about to leave. Black Widow pretended to glance over there casually, I'm going to the bathroom. Left the bar with an excuse. Qin Xiao knew that she was going to find the three strong men, so he didn't expose her. He smiled slightly and told her to do as she pleased. System task, how can a true gentleman let a girl fight? Help Black Widow subdue the three men and let Black Widow remember you. As one of the first generation of Avengers heroes, knowing her will help in the subsequent missions of this world. P.S. Even from a man's perspective, how can such a beauty be let go easily? Host, come on. Okay. It was supposed to be an easy way to pick up a beautiful woman, but it had to cause trouble. But since it's a mission, there is a reward, so I have no choice but to do it. Advertisement. He followed Black Widow out of the back door of the bar in silence. I noticed that the three men were almost at the entrance of the alley. Black Widow stood in the middle of the alley and said something to the three men. Qin Xiao could only make out that it was in Russian, but he had no idea what was being said. But it shouldn't be anything good, because Black Widow said it in one sentence. One of the men was about to reach into his pocket to grab a gun, but was stopped by the other man. The pistol had no silencer and they didn't want to cause trouble. It was clear that they didn't take Black Widow seriously as a woman. As for Qin Xiao, a thin-looking Asian who had just come out of the back door of the bar, he was automatically treated as a background board by them. The three men didn't say anything, just grinned and rushed towards Black Widow. Who is Black Widow? How could these three people take him seriously? He smiled slightly and made the signature head-tilting gesture before taking action. He also began to prepare to speed up and rush towards the three strong men. But before she could start running, a dark shadow rushed past her. At this moment, Qin Xiao not only had the Super Soldier Serum on his body, but was also wearing clothes transformed from E-level combat uniforms. He also has fighting skills comparable to the world's top soldiers. He quickly dodged in front of the three men and grabbed the man in front with his right hand. Without stopping, he used the inertia of his body to move his arms, covered the man's face and threw him backwards. Bang! The back of the man's head hit the nose of the person behind him accurately. He let go of his hand and elbowed to the side, and the last man didn't have time to break. He was hit on the temple by Qin Xiao's elbow. After falling to the ground cleanly and neatly, Qin Xiao gave each of the two guys who were lowering their heads and covering their noses a knife attack. In less than 2 seconds, he rushed past Black Widow and knocked down the three men like flowing water. After finishing, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he turned around to strike a better pose. Unexpectedly, when I turned around, I almost bumped into the black muzzle of a gun. FK. What are you doing? Qin Xiao was so scared that he almost got shot when he was forced to pretend to be cool. Who are you? Black Widow's expression was a little serious. The three people on the opposite side were not ordinary people. Even if she took action, it would take several rounds to defeat those three people. Qin Xiao was so good that he knocked them all down before he could even see what was happening. Man! Qin Xiao raised his hands helplessly. Look, I mean no harm, I just saw you go out and fight with someone, so I should be a bit of a gentleman, right? Not only did you not buy me a drink, but you also pointed a gun at my head. Advertisement, Qin Xiao said with a grin. Regardless of whether Black Widow had the intention to kill or not, at this distance, he was confident that he could dodge a gunshot, not to mention that the clothes on his body were indestructible. Black Widow did not sense any hostility from Qin Xiao, but even so, she still cautiously took 2 steps back. The gun never left Qin Xiao's head. You leave first. I want to take these 3 people away. Okay. Qin Xiao looked at Black Widow and slowly took a step back with his right foot. Just as Black Widow breathed a sigh of relief, Qin Xiao retreated with his right leg. With a Z-shaped movement, he avoided Black Widow's aim and was already next to her before she could react. His right hand had already snatched the mini pistol from Black Widow's hand. The Black Widow in the movie is just an ordinary person with super fighting skills and physical fitness, and he doesn't have modified genes like in the comics. Qin Xiao has super serum, his speed and reaction have exceeded the limits of human beings. He planned it without intention, and Black Widow was naturally hit. He pointed the gun directly at Black Widow's head and pushed her against the wall. What do you want? Black Widow looked at Qin Xiao expressionlessly, but his right hand was moving slowly towards his thigh. Punish you for repaying kindness with enmity. Qin Xiao smiled slightly and took Black Widow's small pistol into pieces in a few seconds. Elementary level fighting skills include the use of general firearms. I don't know if the shooting is accurate, but there is no problem in understanding and using them. He threw the broken pieces on the ground, holding a bullet that had been ejected from a pistol in his hand. He threw it lightly towards the middle of Black Widow's clothes. It was sandwiched between the 2 peaks. Do you know that Cupid can not only use bows and arrows, but also play with pistols occasionally? He chuckled and touched Black Widow's waist. Qin Xiao stepped back suddenly, laughed loudly, and turned back to the bar. This damn BD! It was not until Qin Xiao returned to the bar that Black Widow's right hand slowly stretched out from her thigh under her skirt. He held a small electric shock device in his hand. She was almost about to launch an attack just now. She didn't know whether Qin Xiao had planned it or it was just a coincidence, but in the end he turned around and left. Although she was very curious about who Qin Xiao was, the mission was more important at the moment. As for Qin Xiao, she could just investigate him casually when she had the chance in the future. With a bit of disgust and an indescribable feeling, Black Widow took out his cell phone and called someone from the bureau to come and clean up the mess. Qin Xiao didn't know what Black Widow was thinking, mainly because he had completed the task. From a personal perspective, I have left a deep impression on Black Widow. We can talk about other things later. That's enough for today. If we stay any longer, we'll meet people from S.H.I.E.L.D. I am definitely interested in Black Widow, but for now, it's better to stay away from S.H.I.E.L.D. Qin Xiao felt a burning sensation in his heart when he recalled the scene where the bullet slipped into Black Widow's clothes. When I entered the bar, I quickly looked at the girl I had been paying attention to for several days, but found that she had left. Oh. Go back to bed. Advertisement. Chapter 7. After going to Stark Industries twice and getting 2 checks for $100,000, Qin Xiao finally received a call from Xiao Leijiao. Tony Stark finally remembered his fighting coach. In fact, although Tony Stark is very pretentious, he wants to learn something from others. Still quite respectful of others. Happy was specially sent to pick up Qin Xiao and take him to Tony's house. Maybe it was because the last time Qin Xiao punched the sandbag, Happy was deeply shocked. As Tony Stark's personal bodyguard, he felt that he needed to improve his professional standards. On the way, he asked Qin Xiao if he could learn Kung Fu too. Qin Xiao said it doesn't matter, as long as your boss agrees, I have no objection. Compared to the mansions on the seaside cliffs seen in movies, it is more shocking to see them in real life. This is almost as big as a small or medium-sized shopping mall. What's even more infuriating is that he didn't even hire a servant for such a big house. Usually, apart from his bedroom, he hides in the basement to invent things. What's the point of building such a big house? Compared to the house, Jarvis, which already has a prototype of artificial intelligence, did not shock Qin Xiao as much. After all, when watching the movie, the intuitive feeling Jarvis gave people was no different from now. Just like that, with a desire for revenge against the evil capitalists and Tony's last bragging. Qin Xiao started the first lesson with Tony. A basic martial arts skill that all Hyuxia people know, horse stance. A little lower, with your thighs and calves at a 90-degree angle, and your butt lower. Don't stick it up. Oh. Damn it. Happy, are you trying to seduce me with your fat butt? Go down a little. Tony Stark and Qin Xiao were not that familiar with each other, so he did not let Qin Xiao enter his underground laboratory. Instead, he took Qin Xiao to the large balcony outside. I'm here to learn Kung Fu, the kind for fighting people, not to practice these weird damn postures. Happy couldn't put his butt down for a long time and said dissatisfiedly. This is a basic skill of Hyuxia Kung Fu. I have practiced something similar before. It can make your lower limbs stronger and make it harder for you to be knocked down by the enemy. Advertisement to Qin Xiao's surprise, Tony had actually practiced Wing Chun for some time. I also specially worshipped a Wing Chun master. Actually, actor Robert Downey Jr. practiced Wing Chun, not Tony Stark, but I'm using that here. At this moment, Tony not only seemed to be at ease with Happy's misunderstanding, but also took the time to explain it to Happy. After the boss gave the order, Happy had no choice but to squat down again and move his butt vigorously. It took him a long time to get the posture right. But I have a question. Tony had done horse stance before, and he felt very relaxed in the first few minutes, even finding time to chat with Qin Xiao. You say? Qin Xiao got a chair from somewhere and said while half lying down. The master I learned Wing Chun from before was a very famous martial arts master in Daxia. Why do I feel that he is not as good as you? Real Kung Fu is the art of killing people. Very few of them are circulated outside. Most of the Hyuxia Kung Fu out there is just showmanship. To put it simply, it's like the difference between Hogwarts and magicians outside, understand? Muggles. What Qin Xiao said was not nonsense. Not to mention the Marvel world, there were also Kung Fu characters like Shang-Chi in the later period. Take the previous life for example. Real martial arts did decline in this era, and it was impossible for ordinary people to find real masters. No matter whether it is a famous martial arts school or a martial arts master, all of them are just fancy moves and are just for performance. I don't know if Tony has been free recently, but he asks Happy to pick up Qin Xiao to practice almost every day. This forced Qin Xiao to start taking this matter seriously. Although Qin Xiao doesn't know the real Hyuxia boxing. But facing Tony and Happy, two complete laymen, it's still possible to fool them. Let them do horse stance and physical training for an hour every day. Finally, let the two of them fight each other, and Qin Xiao gave instructions from the side. Apart from anything else, after nearly a month, their fighting skills have indeed improved rapidly. Qin Xiao's biggest gain was that he became more and more familiar with Tony Stark. After a month of getting along, Qin Xiao unexpectedly discovered that the two of them had a lot in common. I hate all formalism, I don't like people who are too serious, I think they are hypocritical, etc. In fact, most people have these characteristics, but most people are struggling in this world and are worn down by reality. Advertisement for example, Qin Xiao in the previous life. Tony Stark is very lucky. His identity and ability determine that he can maintain his attitude and persistence in the world. But after traveling through time and obtaining the system, his free and unrestrained nature slowly began to emerge. The most important point is that they both have the same bad taste. For example, Happy has been given several nicknames by two people recently. Fatta Butter, Classy Bigga Gigolos and more. As a result, Happy is now afraid to practice fighting with the two of them. The main reason is that Tony Stark is indeed quite capable, with constant physical training and Qin Xiao's guidance. Happy was gradually becoming no match for Tony. This is absolutely huge amounts of insult to a bodyguard. I heard that he has recently started to think about transferring to the security department of Stark Industries. Just as Qin Xiao was busy training Tony every day and slowly building friendship with him. SHIELD headquarters in Washington. Director Nick Fury's office. Bald Egg was maintaining his usual style, standing by the window and looking coldly at the scenery outside. Behind him, standing was Black Widow in a black tights. Compared to the last time Qin Xiao met in the bar, Black Widow looked more heroic in his combat uniform. Almost all the agents committed suicide. The only two remaining ones gritted their teeth during the interrogation and refused to speak no matter how much torture they were subjected to. Black Widow said calmly. It doesn't matter. Anyway, we have already removed all the secret lines in the United States. They can't do anything they want. It doesn't matter whether they know it or not. How do you feel about letting you deal with your former colleagues by yourself, Agent Romanoff? Nick Fury turned around and asked. I've done so many things wrong in the past that I'm happy to use what I know about them to disrupt their activities. To me, it's like making up for past mistakes. Black Widow's expression was very calm, as if he had completely walked out of the shadow of the past. Oh? If you really think so, that's great. This matter is over and we don't need to discuss it anymore. Let's send those two agents away in peace. I'm actually very interested in the Asian guy you met last time. Nick Fury said, pointing to a document on his desk. The first page of the document had Qin Xiao's name and photo, and below that was the file on the Avengers project. Advertisement. Chapter 8. Hawkeye and Black Widow almost represent the highest level of fighting among ordinary people on this planet, whether in terms of speed, physical fitness, or strength. And according to Black Widow's description of Qin Xiao, that was an existence that could far crush her. It was precisely because of this unreasonableness that Black Widow drew his gun directly when Qin Xiao showed no malice. This kind of oppressive feeling derived from strength has only been brought to her by one person in her agent career. That is the legendary Winter Soldier. According to what Black Widow said to Captain America in Captain America 2, Black Widow was shot in the abdomen by Winter Soldier in 2009. Now it is 2008 and Iron Man is not born yet, so I made a small change. Super Serum is no trivial matter, so Black Widow told Nick Fury the whole story, along with his own analysis and speculation. Nick Fury knew that the military still had some incomplete Super Serum samples and it was impossible to create a real Super Soldier. So he suspected that Qin Xiao had undergone some kind of mutation by accident. So I checked Qin Xiao's life trajectory and every person around him. The resources at Nick Fury's disposal are not comparable to those of ordinary intelligence agencies. Soon, Nick Fury thoroughly checked all the experiences from childhood to adulthood that the system had created for Qin Xiao. In the more than 20 years that Qin Xiao has been here, the only two unusual things that have happened are the shooting incident in which his parents died during his childhood. And the shooting incident that happened in Isaiah's house that Qin Xiao had just traveled through some time ago. However, in both incidents, there was a character who was deliberately erased. Isaiah. Isaiah is a being that the US government refuses to acknowledge. Isaiah, who had been in hiding since the government squeezed out his last bit of usefulness and was pardoned by a certain president. After Nick Fury knew his name, all the confidential files were on his desk within a few hours. With these, Nick Fury can make a rough estimate of what is going on. A super soldier who predates Captain America and the first successful experiment. Black Widow said in disbelief. Yes, there are always some bastards in the government who like to do dirty things. He worked for the country and fought against Hydra, but in the end he was thrown into a laboratory and imprisoned for 30 years. Nick Fury was indignant, saying that Isaiah's experience was indeed too tragic. But Nick Fury knew very well that with Isaiah's power, it would be impossible for him to extract the super serum on his own and successfully create a super soldier. So the only answer is an accident. Some kind of accident happened, which caused Qin Xiao to melt the super serum. Maybe it was the shooting. Nick Fury analyzed the matter almost exactly. Advertisement, but no matter whether his analysis is correct or not, one thing is certain, that is, Qin Xiao is definitely a super warrior who has broken the limits of the human body. And he just happened to have a plan that required super soldiers. Agent Romanov, your job over the next period of time is to get close to Qin Xiao. I need a comprehensive psychological assessment and personality analysis report. The more detailed the better. Yes. Black Widow agreed and turned and walked out of Nick Fury's office. Nick Fury sighed and turned his eyes to the Avengers plan. You know, this plan has been in his mind for more than 10 years. Few people in the world know that aliens really exist. They are countless times more powerful than those on Earth, both in terms of individuals and technology. The Earth needs some super soldiers, some superhumans, a superhero group that will one day be strong enough to resist alien civilizations. During this period of time, Qin Xiao once again spent all the 500 points given by the last mission. He is proficient in cold weapons at level E and also customized a Tang sword. The system is very considerate. In order to make it easier for Qin Xiao to carry it, it only has one handle in the initial state. The blade was broken into pieces and hidden in the handle. When using, just open the handle and swing it hard, and the blade will take shape immediately. The joints of each section are covered by a dragon relief on the blade. The entire blade is black, and only the blade emits a hint of the original cold light of the alloy material. Qin Xiao tried it and found that ordinary metal materials could be easily split into two halves. Only certain special alloys can withstand the slashing of this Tang sword. With a suitable weapon, Qin Xiao's combat power was greatly improved again. Qin, if you have time tonight, accompany me to a charity reception. In the basement of Tony's villa, Tony had just been severely beaten up by Qin Xiao. At this moment, he was lying on the ring, looking at the ceiling and speaking while gasping for breath. Tony, I'm not your female companion. Why should I accompany you to a charity reception? I don't have that much money to donate to charity. Qin Xiao said as he took mineral water from the freezer. I'm Tony Stark, man. I never need a female companion when I go to a cocktail party. As soon as I show up, all the women will throw themselves at me like crazy. But you won't have the chance to experience this. Whether you go or not, there are many beautiful women, including many Hollywood actresses. Speaking of there being many beautiful women, Qin Xiao felt a little moved. Advertisement. Tony Stark then spoke again. You're only 22, man, for God's sake, when I was 22 I was partying every night, you should make some friends now, come on. Let's go and relax together. I'm going to Afghanistan in a few days to sign a contract with the military. Just treat it as a party before leaving. Afghanistan. Qin Xiao silently recited the name of this country in his heart. It seems that the plot is about to begin. I wonder what kind of task the system will give me. How many points can you get? The trip to Afghanistan was a turning point in Tony's life and the place where Iron Man emerged from his cocoon and became a butterfly. So even during this period, Qin Xiao and Tony got along very well. In the end, Qin Xiao swallowed his words asking Tony to be careful and agreed to go to the cocktail party with him in the evening. At this kind of party, most people have their own small circles, chatting with each other in groups of 3 or 4. Apart from being surrounded by beautiful women, Tony rarely interacts with others. This time, Qin Xiao was brought along. Tony, I just discovered that you are a liar. You told me this was a charity reception, but it turned out to be a celebration party where the military awarded you a patriotic trophy. Look around here, there are old men in military uniforms everywhere. Where is the Hollywood star you're talking about, a hole? Qin Xiao found out that he had been fooled. This was clearly the award ceremony at the beginning of the Iron Man movie. Relax, maybe I remembered it wrongly. I just promised them to be there. I didn't say I would wait obediently to receive the award. Come with me, I will take you to find the beauty. Just like in the movie, Tony ran straight into the hotel's casino. The only difference is that in the movie, Tony was followed by a large group of bodyguards, but now, only Happy was following Tony and Qin Xiao. Come on, relax, have some chips and have some fun. There will be a constant stream of beauties surrounding you soon. I can promise to let you pick first, provided they are willing to give up on me. Tony stuffed a lot of chips into Qin Xiao's hands. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes and said, with your wealth, the girls here must be crazy to follow me. Anyway, he would not be able to meet the beautiful girl tonight, so Qin Xiao wanted to help Tony lose more money. He viciously placed all the chips in his hand on number 1 in the roulette betting area. Oh, damn, you've never gambled before. That's right, number 1 is not a wise choice. It's too lonely, isn't it? If it were me, I would choose number 2. Tony Stark's words were taken over by a woman's voice that Qin Xiao was familiar with. As he spoke, he reached out and pushed Qin Xiao's chips to position 2. Advertisement. Chapter 9. Black Widow. Today, Black Widow wore a two-piece dress with a white base and light blue exterior. The slanted hem of the dress was covered with a white veil that went below her knees. The round and straight thighs are faintly visible. Compared to the time they met at the bar, this time the clothes were much more innocent and playful. But in a casino, where beautiful women are everywhere wearing vests and hot pants. But the way she dressed gave people more temptation. To see how tempting it is, just look at Tony Stark next to him. When this guy saw Black Widow coming out, his eyes widened. Hello, although I am sure you definitely know me, I still want to introduce myself. I am Tony Stark. Definitely, who in this country doesn't know Tony Stark? Natasha Romanoff, Natasha Romanoff. Black Widow did not hide her real name. I don't know if she felt it was unnecessary or if her information was top secret and she was not afraid of being found out. Nodding politely at Tony, Black Widow turned and said to Qin Xiao. I'm sorry I left early last time at the bar. Today I'll make it up to you. I'll gamble with you. Okay. Qin Xiao unceremoniously reached out his hand and let Black Widow hold his arm. Crash. The roulette wheel starts to spin. The small iron ball rolled on the roulette wheel for several rounds, and finally slowly stopped on number 2. Tony saw such a rare beauty and ran directly to Qin Xiao. I originally wanted to say something sour, but then I saw that the roulette wheel actually ran to number 2. I couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise. Yes. Tony doesn't care about this little money, but there are 38 numbers in American roulette, and it is really exciting to get the right number at once. It was obvious that the beauty was coming for Qin Xiao. Tony could only turn around and ask happy indifferently. How many chips did I give him just now? It seems to be 180,000, right? This time he won 6.3 million. Damn it, Qin, you should thank this beautiful girl. She has a share of the money here. I put up the capital, we'll each take half, and you can give your share to this girl. Happy, take half of the chips here and follow me. This beauty came for Qin Xiao, and no matter how much Tony likes her, he won't keep pestering her. He decided to find another place to relax by himself, but before leaving, he leaned over to Qin Xiao's ear and whispered. Tell me the name of the bar you often go to later. I'll find you when I get back from Afghanistan. Tony. Be careful. Qin Xiao still couldn't help himself and gave Tony an instruction. But it looked like he didn't take it to heart at all. After sending Tony away, Qin Xiao turned around and looked at the Black Widow beside him. Advertisement, don't tell me it was just a chance encounter tonight. I don't believe it, Miss Romanoff. Okay, I admit that I came here specifically to see you, but we'll talk about anything later. Now you have to play with me for a while. I have a share of the bargaining chips, as Stark said just now. Black Widow is now performing like a little girl jumping around. He dragged Qin Xiao around the casino and placed bets casually at every table he saw. But if you think about it, the Black Widow in the movie is only 24 years old now, which is only 2 years older than Qin Xiao's age in this world. Seriously speaking, he is indeed a big kid. I don't know if Black Widow is really lucky or if the two of them are just lucky together. The two of them placed bets casually at each table. He actually managed to collect a total of $4 million. When it came time to exchange chips, Black Widow said that the money was of no use to him and he didn't want a cent. Qin Xiao didn't care and just deposited all the money into his own account. Before going out, I happened to see Tony getting into his car with a female reporter at the hotel entrance. Before leaving, he blinked at Qin Xiao. It seems like you have a good relationship. From what I know, being friends with Tony Stark is not an easy thing. The two of them walked to the door of the hotel, and Black Widow spoke first. Really? Maybe we can get along better, but I think it's a little harder to let an elite agent lean on me like a little bird. How did you know that? Black Widow wasn't surprised either, she just tilted her head and asked with a smile. Is it hard to guess? You went to the back door of the bar in the middle of the night and challenged 3 strong men. They were either killers or agents. You didn't kill them. Although he knew that Black Widow was an internationally renowned agent, Qin Xiao still had the urge to rub her head when he saw her like this. Okay, you got it right. I'm an agent. You already know my identity. Now it's my turn to ask you a question. The two of them were just casually strolling down the street, and Black Widow asked nonchalantly. Speak. Qin Xiao pouted to show that he didn't care. How did you get super serum? Was it because of Isaiah? Black Widow didn't intend to hide it and went straight to the point. This time it was Qin Xiao who found it unbelievable. How efficient is S.H.I.E.L.D.? Just by taking action once, they were able to find out so much? But since Black Widow was so straightforward, Qin Xiao didn't hide anything. He told Black Widow exactly what happened. After all, I'm just lucky. You approached me because of super serum. Qin Xiao was a little wary, although for him, the relationship with Isaiah was just a relationship created by the system. But in Isaiah's heart, he really treated him as a child. He didn't want Isaiah to be captured and taken to the laboratory for human experiments because of him. Advertisement: no, we are not interested in the serum. It is too unstable. Besides, none of us will bother Isaiah. Instead, we will secretly clean up those people around him who have bad intentions. My target is you. The two of them walked into a park unknowingly. Black Widow let go of Qin Xiao, sat on a bench and said, "Oh." Qin Xiao sat down next to her. "It was me? So the bullet went into your heart last time. If you ever mention that to me again, I'll make a sandwich out of your head." Black Widow said angrily. "Okay. Okay. I will never mention the bullet I put in your chest again. Now explain what I mean by the target is me, Agent Romanoff." Qin Xiao pretended to raise his hands in surrender. Formally introduced, Natasha Romanoff, a high-level agent of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. We are responsible for monitoring all threatening things and individuals in the world. Qin Xiao, do you think I am a threat to this world? Qin Xiao also introduced himself again. You have strength, speed, and reaction speed that exceed the limits of the human body. With a little training, you can become the most powerful assassin in the world, assassinating some important figures, or even the president of a country. I believe no one can stop you. You think we're going to turn a blind eye to you? So what do you want to do? Lock me up? Qin Xiao looked at Black Widow and said. Definitely not. I am only responsible for observation and giving you a risk assessment report. If you don't show signs of being antisocial or anti-human, we won't arrest you. Black Widow did not reveal Nick Fury's Avengers plan himself. But it went in a circle. Well, I am a very lustful person. I get dizzy easily when I see a beautiful woman, especially a beauty like you. Does this count as a threat? Black Widow was very smart, and he had been exposed in front of Qin Xiao anyway. Just reveal your identity directly. Just like meeting a new friend, I started chatting casually with Qin Xiao. She would naturally analyze every word Qin Xiao said and every expression and movement. Finally handed over to Nick Fury. The two of them sat in the park and chatted until late at night before leaving. The next day, Qin Xiao received a call from Happy before dinner. Tony Stark went missing after being attacked by terrorists in Afghanistan. The plot finally began. Qin Xiao asked the system why he couldn't return after completing 2 tasks. The system's answer was that Qin Xiao could only return to the real world after Tony Stark metamorphosed into Iron Man and defeated Iron Man together with him. Although to Qin Xiao, whether in the real world or the Marvel world, he is just a time traveler. But the real world still feels more solid, and he has integrated the memories of his previous incarnation, so there are still a lot of things in the real world waiting for him to deal with. The prerequisite is to obtain points so that you can exchange them for a large amount of money. Advertisement. Chapter 10. As a top agent, Black Widow is pretty good at judging people, even though the two of them chatted about all sorts of things. But Black Widow knew that Qin Xiao had no interest in joining the Avengers or S.H.I.E.L.D. Everyone knows that too much is as bad as too little. Anyway, Black Widow and Qin Xiao are friends for the time being, so Nick Fury temporarily turned his attention elsewhere. But only he himself knew how many spies were watching him secretly. As for Tony Stark, he has been missing for almost half a month. The US military and the FBI searched frantically throughout Afghanistan, but still found nothing. Agent Romanoff, did you miss me? On the 14th day after Tony Stark disappeared, Qin Xiao received a task from the system. Rescue Tony Stark. Qin Xiao thought that he just had to wait until Tony came back and the plot officially began before defeating the villain. I didn't expect such a task to come suddenly. Although Qin Xiao has seen the movie, he is not omniscient, for example, he does not know the exact location of the cave. The military and the FBI plowed through Afghanistan like locusts, but couldn't find a place, let alone Qin Xiao alone. So, Qin Xiao called Black Widow. Compared to the current environment, yes, I miss you. Working next to you is like a vacation. The Black Widow's voice was very loud, and was accompanied by the sound of gunfire. Are you on a mission? Or will we talk later? Wait for me a moment. Black Widow said lightly. Qin Xiao listened to all kinds of noises and gunshots coming from the phone. There were also sounds like human groans and a body falling to the ground. The last sound was a man's long and miserable scream. Then Black Widow picked up the phone. What do you want to talk to me about? Well, the scream just now was a bit brainwashing, Qin Xiao couldn't help but ask. What did you do to the guy who just screamed? I crushed his balls into a burrito. Hiss. Advertisement. Although Qin Xiao said this first, Black Widow said it half-jokingly. Qin Xiao still took a breath of cold air. From the man's scream just now, Qin Xiao felt that Black Widow was probably not joking. For a moment, I felt a dull pain in my lower body and couldn't help but change my sitting position. Only then did he start talking about serious matters. You know Obadiah Stane, the second largest shareholder of Stark Industries. I need some information about him. Are you in Los Angeles? It would be best if we could meet in person. You suspect he has something to do with Stark's disappearance? Black Widow reacted quickly, hesitating for a moment and then asked back. Yeah, are you in Los Angeles? I think we should meet up, and don't tell anyone yet. Wait for me, I'll be there in 2 hours. Black Widow hung up the phone directly. In fact, it only took Black Widow an hour and a half to reach Qin Xiao's door. Obviously S.H.I.E.L.D. is also very concerned about Tony Stark's affairs. Because Black Widow was wearing a black tight combat uniform and came over without even changing his clothes. Phew. Qin Xiao opened his mouth and whistled. You go out on the street in the middle of the night wearing this? It's an insult to the profession of gangster. If they don't mind having their balls turned into burritos, I welcome that. Black Widow gently pushed Qin Xiao away and sat down on the sofa. Tell me, why do you suspect that guy? Black Widow gets straight to the point. First of all, not many people know Tony's plan en route to Afghanistan, except for those around him and the military. Qin Xiao took a bottle of drink from the refrigerator for Black Widow. I believe the military has already filtered it internally. Secondly, who is the person who would benefit the most from Stark's disappearance? He is the only person who meets these two conditions. It's simple, isn't it? You can find out by watching any suspense movie. Qin Xiao said exaggeratedly. In fact, it's not that no one has ever had such doubts. It was just that when Tony Stark's father died, it was Obadiah who stood up against all odds and helped Tony Stark take charge of the entire company. If he wanted to take over the company, that was the best opportunity. So in everyone's eyes, Obadiah is an uncle-like figure who helps Tony manage the company. Help him with public relations in times of crisis and clean up the troubles he causes. Advertisement. This partner looks like the greatest legacy Howard Stark would leave to his son. Everyone knows this, and Qin Xiao, who has been with Tony for so long, naturally knows it too. So he continued. Everyone thought that Obadiah helped Tony take control of Stark Industries, but in fact, only Obadiah knew that Tony was the goose that laid the golden eggs. He is different from Tony and his father. He is a businessman. He is very good at investing, whether it is investing in Howard or Stark, and now it is time for him to reap the rewards. Qin Xiao's words are highly credible. As long as there is a motive, the only person who meets all the conditions is the big bald guy Obadiah. I admit that what you said makes sense, but it's far from enough. We can't arrest him based on this speculation. I'm not the Minister of Defense. Black Widow made a helpless gesture. I definitely understand what you mean, but I didn't say I was going to arrest him. I just wanted to find out where Stark was. I just wanted to get my friend out. If it was really him, he would have contacted the people who kidnapped Tony. He would have left some clues. Do you understand what I mean? You must be an expert in this area. Give it a try. If not, there won't be any trouble. Secretly check some of his personal records, such as emails and phone calls. I think this shouldn't be a big deal for you. Secretly investigating a person is indeed nothing for the famous Black Widow. However, Stark Industries' internal network gave Black Widow a lot of headaches. Stark Industries has its own communications satellite and its own independent internal network. There is no problem for all external networks to cut in, but once data outflow occurs, they will immediately call the police and directly cut off the network. Simple, crude, but very effective. They must break into the internal network. Just when Qin Xiao was thinking about whether to ask Happy or little Lei Jiao for help, Black Widow went out to make a phone call. Okay, we just have to wait for the results. Done? Didn't you just say there was no other way except from the inside? Do you have people in Stark Industries? Qin Xiao asked in surprise. It's not me, it's us. I asked the director to mobilize our people in Stark Industries. We should have news soon. Black Widow said with great confidence. Qin Xiao was no longer calm. What? You informed your chief? Damn it. Didn't I tell you not to tell anyone? I'm on a mission. I can't just disappear and run thousands of kilometers to see you. I have to report. Do you understand? Don't worry, we are the largest intelligence agency in the world. Our people are carefully selected. They are not only professional, but also reliable. Black Widow said with a solemn oath. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes and thought, you'll know when you truly understand what the Snake Shield Agency is. But for now, we can only pray that the person in Nick Fury's hand is not from Hydra. Otherwise, God knows how much unexpected trouble will be caused. Advertisement. Chapter 11. Nick Fury's people acted quickly, and within an hour, Black Widow received a folder in his mailbox. Not only did it contain evidence that Obadiah secretly sold weapons to terrorists, but it also contained a video sent by the terrorists showing Tony Stark tied to a chair. It seems that you guessed it right. It is indeed related to Obadiah. However, it will take a little more time to find Tony Stark. Once we find Tony Stark's location, we will rescue him as soon as possible. Just wait for my good news. Black Widow said as if he was about to leave. Qin Xiao quickly grabbed her. I want to go with you. Qin Xiao knew that with the strength of S.H.I.E.L.D., saving people would definitely not be a big problem. But he has a mission, and points are a good thing. No, this is not your job, trust us. Black Widow rejected Qin Xiao outright. Tony is my friend, and I provided the clue. No matter from which perspective, it is necessary for me to go there. Besides, I am not an ordinary civilian. Qin Xiao looked at Black Widow without giving in. Suddenly Black Widow's cell phone rang. The call was from Nick Fury, and Black Widow naturally chose to report the situation. To Black Widow's surprise, Nick Fury accepted Qin Xiao's suggestion to go together. But there is a condition, that is, Qin Xiao must join S.H.I.E.L.D. When Qin Xiao was hesitating, the system's voice sounded in his mind. Mission, join S.H.I.E.L.D. and become a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. The mission has point rewards, so Qin Xiao naturally won't miss it. But he still couldn't help asking. System, why do you want me to join S.H.I.E.L.D.? Wouldn't it be more free outside? The system's answer is yes. In order to allow the host to better complete some subsequent tasks, don't worry, the host will not be forced to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. forever. Advertisement. With these words, Qin Xiao felt much more at ease. I agree. I'll join S.H.I.E.L.D. and you can take me with you to Afghanistan. Qin Xiao was still hesitating the moment before, but unexpectedly he agreed suddenly. Black Widow was a little confused. Why? Didn't you say you didn't want to be too restricted? I need a job. Qin Xiao said in a mean way. Black Widow naturally didn't believe this, but since Qin Xiao didn't say anything, she had no other choice. All I can say is, okay. Get ready to go to Afghanistan to complete your first mission, Rookie Agent. The southern desert of Afghanistan. A Quinjet flew across the sky and slowly stopped at the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. The rear end slowly opened and lowered a metal ramp. A Hyuxia-made civilian off-road vehicle with a Pakistan license plate slowly drove out from the plane. Black Widow and Qin Xiao, dressed like backpackers, sat in the front seat of the SUV. Black Widow in the cockpit slowly gave a thumbs-up sign towards the plane. Blue flames shot up from the 3 nozzles on the Quinjet's tail and wings, rising into the sky. Left this place instantly. We already know the location. Shouldn't we send several planes and a group of special operations personnel over with real guns and live ammunition to rescue the people directly? Qin Xiao made a thudding motion with his hands and asked in confusion. First of all, to do that, we need to do a lot of reconnaissance, including the enemy's number of people, weapons, geographical location, etc. We have to ensure the safety of the hostages. Second, they are not in Afghanistan, but in Pakistan. Although this desert is a no-man's land, we cannot directly enter their airspace. This is very dangerous. Black Widow said this while driving with one hand in a very cool manner. Why? Qin Xiao didn't understand. In the movie, let alone the United States, even the Avengers could go wherever they wanted. There were never any issues with territorial or national borders. Advertisement because Pakistan has an ally behind him called Huaxia. There's a saying that goes, don't walk around a lion with a weapon. Every country knows that Daxia can leave the world, but the world cannot leave Daxia. Black Widow said lightly. Qin Xiao understood Black Widow's meaning very well. It wouldn't matter if the two of them drove in by car, but it would be different if they drove a fighter jet. And although they were not in the same time and space, Qin Xiao still felt a little excited about the country's strength. Agencies like S.H.I.E.L.D., their fighters don't dare to cross Pakistan's boundaries even a little bit. How much they fear Daxia. Looking at Qin Xiao's proud expression, Black Widow said with a smile. I almost forgot that you are Huaxia. Did you know? There is a saying in the intelligence community that no matter if you are an international spy, agent, or even a mercenary, you should never, ever enter Daxia. Do you know why? Oh? Why? Qin Xiao was quite interested. During the Cold War, Soviet and American spies were everywhere in the world, but all those who entered Daxia mysteriously disappeared. From what I know, the Soviet Union and the United States each sent at least 3 groups of hundreds of people in, and all of them lost contact in the end. According to legend, the intelligence departments of the 2 countries finally received a note from the relevant Huaxia department, on which were written 4 big characters, no trespassing. I used to think it was just a legend, until I entered the Strategic National Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency, and I saw the note with my own eyes. It was unbelievable. Black Widow told Qin Xiao something about Daxia. The vehicle headed south and entered Pakistan's territory. At the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan is a vast desert, an uninhabited area. Neither side maintained troops in the desert. But after the 10 Rings terrorists who called themselves freedom fighters kidnapped Tony Stark. Knowing that Afghanistan would be turned upside down by the Americans, he very cleverly led his men directly into Pakistan's territory. This not only allowed them to avoid searches by the US military, but also prevented anyone from entering the desert to search for them as long as they didn't get too close to the edge of Pakistan's desert. But they never imagined that their videos would fall into the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D. They were very cautious when sending emails and forwarded them through servers in different countries. Several terrorists in the video also covered their faces, leaving only their eyes exposed. But with the addition of Afghanistan, this is enough for S.H.I.E.L.D. Advertisement. Chapter 12. After receiving the video, we immediately analyzed the visible range of these masked terrorists and hacked into the entire Afghan surveillance system through a new identification system. Whether it's public or private surveillance, or even mobile phones, laptops, tablets, etc., as long as they are connected to the internet, we can capture them all. 2 days ago, we identified several terrorists in a restaurant in this town. The similarity of the 3 people's eyebrows and eyes is more than 85%. If nothing unexpected happens, this should be the place. On a sand dune in the desert, Black Widow is using a laptop connected to a monocular. The car was parked on the back of the sand dune and covered by Black Widow with a yellow desert camouflage cover. The town in the distance was still a black dot in Qin Xiao's sight, but after the Black Widow was connected, Qin Xiao noticed that everyone who entered and left the town would be captured by the telescope's automatic focus. The image is then transferred directly to this computer, where the computer's software automatically analyzes and identifies it. Are we just going to sit here and stare at the computer forever? Qin Xiao wiped the sweat from his head. The high temperature in the desert in broad daylight was really torturous. Once it's identified, it will automatically call the police. Black Widow stood up and stretched. Her devilish figure is fully displayed in this action, especially when paired with her pure and sexy angel face. I should have gone to Chinatown first and bought some herbal tea to bring back. Qin Xiao swallowed hard. Black Widow noticed Qin Xiao's eyes and smiled slightly. Go and set up the tent quickly. I'll put some small things there to help us keep watch. If we're unlucky, we might have to stay here for a week. Due to border issues, they cannot enter the country directly on a large scale. The 2 of them could only find the people secretly first, then go to scout the area to determine the enemy's number and weapons, especially the exact location of Tony Stark. to decide what to do next. Although it might take a week, Qin Xiao had just opened the tent when the computer sounded an alarm. So lucky! Advertisement. Qin Xiao quickly ran to the computer, although he was not very familiar with using the software. But there was a close-up shot above, showing an off-road vehicle with 4 people inside. The degree of eyebrow matching between the front two was 87% and 89% respectively. This fool understood it all. That should be them, let's go. The telescope was kept locked on them, and Qin Xiao quickly dealt with them. The two got in the car and followed it from a distance. We followed him all the way west and bumped through the desert for more than 3 hours. Only then did we find their lair. Qin Xiao was extremely grateful to have Black Widow by his side. If he wanted to track a car in the desert, he would not be able to do so if he got too close, and he would lose the trace if he got too far. Because those tire marks will soon be buried by the yellow sand. In addition, he was born with a poor sense of direction, so it was difficult for him to be alone in the desert even with a GPS. Just say you are looking for someone, and it's good enough that you don't get lost. We walked and observed with binoculars all the way, and finally, the off-road vehicle stopped behind a sand dune again. The 2 men lay on the sand dunes and took out binoculars. Terrorists are really good at choosing places. This is the border of Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Marvel movie universe, don't compare it with reality. People who are good at geography, please don't criticize me. Geographically, it's a bit like Pakistan, and it's a vast desert with no one in it. They didn't know where they found such a sandy slope and a small hill with gravel structure. There were several caves dug in the small hill, and on the other side was a sandy slope with a crack running across the middle. A small canyon-like terrain opened up. If you look at this from a distance on the ground, you can't see anything at all. You have to observe carefully and closely from high altitudes. No wonder so many people can't find where Tony Stark is. Finding the place was just the beginning. In the next 3 days, Black Widow used his actions to make Qin Xiao understand what professionalism was. Advertisement. Judging from the vehicles coming in and out and the transportation of supplies, it can be roughly determined that there are about 70 to 80 people in this small base. Water, food, and other materials were delivered regularly to a cave by terrorists. We can roughly judge that there are not only hostages here, but also a great possibility that it is Tony Stark, because they may be making weapons in the cave. What Qin Xiao admired most was that she could lie on the sand dunes for almost the entire day, staring at the terrorist camp with a telescope. Dig a small sand pit and cover it with a camouflage uniform to protect against the sun. This way you can go the whole day without drinking water to reduce the number of excretions. Remember, this is in the desert. Compared to some flashback scenes in the movie, this can more intuitively make Qin Xiao feel how cruel the training she went through was. In order to facilitate observation, they set up a small tent on the back of the sand dune. Although they were far enough away from the terrorist camp, they still dared not light any fire at night. The moonlight is nice tonight, and I am looking at Black Widow's delicate face under the moonlight. Qin Xiao felt a little sad for no reason. This girl was only 24 years old. If there is a chance for you to change your life, I mean a normal life, would you accept it? It was a rare occasion for Qin Xiao to be alone with this peerless beauty every night these days. He always flirted with her whenever he had nothing to do, and today he suddenly said that. Black Widow was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile. No way, that's impossible for me. I have done many wrong things in the past, very, very many. Now for me, it is more like a kind of forgiveness. I am very fortunate that I have this opportunity. Black Widow's smile carried 3 parts of guilt, 3 parts of shame, and even more of unspeakable bitterness. Qin Xiao also suddenly became serious. That's not your fault, Natasha Romanoff. Remember my words. You are just a sword, not an executioner. The one who is wrong is the one who uses the sword. There is no right or wrong in weapons originally. This was the first time Qin Xiao called Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, and it was also the first time he spoke such comforting words to her so seriously. Natasha Romanoff was silent for a long time before she said, "Thank you. We will be preparing for action tonight. Go and get some rest first. We need to stay alert. Someone will come to support us soon. You stay on guard." After saying that, Natasha Romanoff turned and went into the tent. I just found out that I actually received a gift, and it's a character summoning talisman. I am very grateful to Brother Qin Yu from Ziwa Town. This is the first gift of this book. I didn't expect to receive a gift after just writing such a small number of words. This is an unparalleled encouragement to the author. Thank you. Advertisement. Chapter 13. Black Widow said before that due to border issues, they couldn't enter the country in large numbers to rescue Tony. Qin Xiao thought that a few people would come to deliver some equipment and supplies to facilitate the two of them to sneak into the Ten Rings camp. Unexpectedly, S.H.I.E.L.D. directly sent out another ace agent, Hawkeye. Hawkeye appeared in front of Qin Xiao on foot at 1 o'clock in the middle of the night. Just like what we saw in the movies, he was wearing a black combat uniform, carrying a quiver on his back, and holding a combination bow in his hand. He was also holding a bag in his hand, which contained various individual combat weapons. I don't know if it's because the actors in the movie are generally older. All the characters Qin Xiao has seen so far look much younger than in the movies. Hawkeye looked to be no more than 30 years old, quite energetic, with a cool expression on his face. Clint Barton Agent, this is Qin Xiao. Black Widow gave a brief introduction to the two of them. Natasha Romanoff told me about you. You got Isaiah's blood and became a super soldier. You're lucky, kid. Hawkeye stretched out his right hand towards Qin Xiao. Call me a brat and say I'm lucky? Haha. Qin Xiao sneered secretly in his heart and reached out to hold Hawkeye's right hand. Sure enough, you want to test me. Looking at Hawkeye's strong arms, Qin Xiao smiled slightly and exerted force on his hands. Hawkeye's expression changed instantly. God is my witness, Hawkeye was just shaking hands normally, it was all Qin Xiao's imagination, and he increased his strength as soon as he came up. His current strength is measured in tons, so even if Hawkeye is a top-level agent, he is still within the range of humans. Hey, Qin, what are you doing? Let go. Fortunately, Natasha Romanoff pulled Qin Xiao away in time, otherwise Hawkeye wouldn't even be able to pull the bow today. How are you? Natasha Romanoff looked at Hawkeye, who was blushing. Hawkeye didn't say anything, he shook his hands and flexed his palms to indicate that he was fine. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Why are you shaking hands so hard? Natasha Romanoff demanded. Qin Xiao was also very embarrassed. In fact, he knew as soon as he exerted force that Hawkeye had no intention of testing him, otherwise he would not have put up any resistance at all. It looked like someone was attacked by surprise. He scratched his head in embarrassment. Advertisement, he explained with an embarrassed look on his face. I thought he was testing me. That's how it's played out in the movies. He called me a kid and said I was lucky. Qin Xiao's voice became smaller and smaller, and he was indeed very embarrassed. I'm sorry, Agent Barton, how about I don't resist and you pinch it back? Qin Xiao stretched out his right hand. Hawkeye glanced at him and resisted the urge to punch him in the nose. He finally realized that this kid was a 100% complete rookie. You owe me one, remember that? After saying this, he turned around with a grim face and went to pack his equipment. As soon as he turned around, Hawkeye's face was distorted and he almost cried. There's no way, it hurts too much to have my hand bones pinched. There was a brief interlude, and it can be said that I got to know Hawkeye through fighting. 4 o'clock in the morning is said to be the time when humans sleep the deepest at night. A figure slowly sneaked into the vicinity of the Ten Rings camp. I have arrived at the designated location. Over. Qin Xiao was lying on his stomach less than 20 meters away from the camp, wearing file-sized night vision goggles on his eyes, like ordinary sunglasses. Said softly. Got it. Don't move yet. Pay attention to the camp and follow the instructions. Also, don't say over. This is not a movie, rookie. Hawkeye's voice came from the headset. On a small sand dune less than 100 meters away from the camp. Hawkeye finished speaking, turned off the voice, picked up a bow and arrow, pointed it at the camp and said. Let's compete? The old rules. Next to him was Black Widow holding a sniper rifle with a silencer. Great. I never thought I'd have the chance to fight alongside you in the desert. It seems like Nick really thinks highly of Tony Stark. Black Widow was carefully observing the distribution of sentry in the camp through the telescope in his sniper rifle. It's not that they value Stark, but they value this kid Qin. This is obviously for us to bring a rookie here. Hawkeye adjusted the small monocular scope on one eye as he spoke. This must be his standard equipment for long-distance bow and arrow use. I'll count to 3, and we'll start together. 1, 2, 3. Whoosh. 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 Advertisement. Since Qin Xiao absorbed the super serum, his physical senses have become stronger than those of ordinary people. He heard the tearing air sounds of arrows whizzing through the air. As the sound rang out, we saw the sentry in the camp ahead falling to the ground one after another. Some were pierced directly in the throat by arrows, while others had a hole directly in the forehead. It should be that Black Widow and Hawkeye attacked together. In less than 2 seconds, 7 or 8 sentries, both visible and hidden, all fell to the ground. Then, footsteps were heard behind me. Hawkeye ran over quickly from behind. As soon as he arrived next to Qin Xiao, Hawkeye immediately drew his bow and arrow, staring intently in the direction of the camp. Then Qin Xiao saw Black Widow running towards him from the small sand dune like flowing water. When he got here, he pointed his gun at the camp without saying a word. "I'm going to the cave on the left. If anyone comes out, I'll be there to hold them back. Stark should be on the right. I'll leave it to you. Any problems?" Hawkeye glanced at Qin Xiao and said. Qin Xiao made an okay gesture. "Walk." As soon as Hawkeye shouted go, Qin Xiao jumped up from the ground. This shows how cost-effective elementary level fighting skills are. It's not just about fighting skills and knowledge of firearms, but also missions like rescuing hostages. Although it was Qin Xiao's first time, he looked like a well-trained person when he was running and walking. Doesn't look like a newbie at all. Hawkeye secretly gave Black Widow a thumbs up. Experts know the tricks, they have to be as fast as possible, avoid obstacles, and also pay attention to enemies that may appear at any time in front. You can tell at a glance whether he is a veteran or not. This guy is pretty good. Hawkeye threw down the words and followed closely, running towards the camp. I don't know if it's because they are tight on the outside but loose on the inside or if they are confident in the positions they chose. There were no guards inside the cave, only 2 guards at the innermost gate. But at this time, they were all asleep leaning against the big iron gate. Qin Xiao hesitated for a moment, pulled out his silenced pistol, pointed it at the 2 men and shot them each. The first time Qin Xiao killed someone, he originally wanted to use a knife, but then he thought a pistol would be better. I don't know if it was because he was using a pistol or because he was in a hurry to save people, but Qin Xiao didn't feel any discomfort when killing someone with a pistol from a distance of several meters. Advertisement. Chapter 14. He took the key from the guard and gently opened the iron gate. The first thing you see is a large wooden workbench with all kinds of tools and metals scattered all over it. In this kind of environment, he can create a small arc reactor and a set of armor that surpasses technology. He is truly worthy of being called Iron Man, a mortal with a body comparable to that of a god. Qin Xiao exclaimed in praise. Looking inside the cave, 2 simple camp beds were placed on the far right side of the cave. 2 people were lying on a camp bed covered with 2 blankets of unknown color. One of them was Dr. Ethan, who appeared briefly in the movie. The other is Tony Stark, who has transformed into Iron Man. Qin Xiao can see the faint blue light emitted by the arc reactor under the blanket. After all, they have been together for such a long time, and Qin Xiao still has a certain friendship foundation with Tony. Tony Stark, who usually dresses smartly, now looks disheveled. With a little bit of sadness, Qin Xiao gently lifted Tony's blanket. Bang! Just in a moment, Tony suddenly opened his eyes and saw a hand grabbing Qin Xiao's wrist. As your coach, shouldn't I praise you for your good learning? Tony Stark's eyes froze, and he suddenly burst into surprise. Qin Xiao didn't bother to say anything more. He quickly stood up and turned around, tightly covering Ethan's mouth as it was about to open. Shut up! Don't scream if you want to live. I'm Tony's friend. Ethan was woken up just now, and his first reaction was to open his mouth and scream. Fortunately, Qin Xiao reacted quickly enough. God, I never knew it was such a pleasure to see you. Why are you here? Tony lowered his voice and said in surprise. Do you believe me when I say I'm here to wait for the next subway? Nonsense, I'm definitely here to save you, my friend. Also, don't come near me, I don't want to hug you, damn it. Tony, you don't know how bad you smell. Qin Xiao struggled hard to break free from Tony's embrace and couldn't help but brush off the dust on his body. He lowered his voice and said, the people outside have been dealt with. Now keep your voice down and follow me. At this time, Hawkeye's urging voice came from the headphones. Qin, you need to speed up. There is a surveillance room here, and it is aimed at you. I have already dealt with a BD who got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. It won't take long. Hurry up, there's no time. Qin Xiao said to the two of them anxiously. Although Tony was wondering who came with Qin Xiao, he also knew that now was not the time to talk nonsense. He stood up, went to the workbench, picked up a stack of drawings, and followed Qin Xiao without hesitation. Advertisement. When Qin Xiao brought two people out, Black Widow had already started placing some small bombs around. After notifying Hawkeye to evacuate, several people climbed up to the side closer to the cave. Black Widow said as he scanned the canyon below, which was filled with ammunition. "You guys go get the car, I'll stay here. If they come out, I'll give them a free firework," Black Widow said, holding a small remote control that detonated the explosion. The situation was urgent and it was dark, so Tony couldn't see the faces of Hawkeye and Black Widow clearly. Now I heard Black Widow talking and saw her appearance clearly. "It's you." It seems that Black Widow made a deep impression on Tony in the casino. But Tony was wise enough not to ask any more questions at this time. Instead, he spoke to Black Widow with a serious face. "I want to stay with you. The missile rifles and other things below are all weapons from Stark Industries. I don't know why they are here, but I want to destroy them myself." Qin Xiao was the one who understood Tony's current mood best among the group, and didn't wait for others to speak. He spoke directly and took over the conversation. "It's decided. I'll stay to protect them, and Ethan will go drive with Agent Barton." Hawkeye glanced at Qin Xiao and Tony without saying anything. He waved his hand to Ethan and turned away. The three of them found a secluded place and lay down. It was already beginning to get light. Qin Xiao said as he looked at the glowing arc reactor on Tony's body. "The tattoo is nice, it glows, go get me one when you get back." Tony smiled sadly. He simply pulled down his clothes, revealing the reactor inside. "This thing is an electromagnet. There are a bunch of small shrapnel inside that are constantly heading towards my heart. I swear, you won't like this feeling." Not to mention Black Widow, even Qin Xiao, who knew the inside story, was shocked to see a man with such a large piece of metal embedded in his chest. Couldn't help but gasp. "At least you don't have to turn on the desk lamp when you go to the bathroom at night." Qin Xiao didn't know how to comfort him, so he could only pat his shoulder and said. Just as he finished his words, he heard a noisy sound coming from the camp below. "Advertisement, don't talk, they found out." Black Widow said that, and the three of them looked at the camp in silence. A large group of terrorists in dishevel came out of the cave on the left, holding various rifles in their hands, and started shouting loudly in all directions. Black Widow handed the remote detonator to Tony. "Wait a moment, until more of them show up." Tony didn't say anything, but took the detonator and held it tightly in his hand. Obviously, the experiences during this period still left a certain psychological shadow on him. After a while, a bald strong man rushed out angrily with his men. After watching the surveillance video, he entered the cave where Tony was imprisoned again without giving up. It took him more than a minute to come out of the cave. He stood at the entrance and loudly gave some orders to the people below. "Now!" Black Widow said. Almost the moment the voice was spoken, Tony pressed the detonator switch hard. Bang! Boom! Boom! The small bombs left by Black Widow exploded almost at the same time. Then a large number of missiles, grenades, bullets, and other ammunition on the ground were detonated. The violent explosion made the three people who were hundreds of meters away feel the ground shaking. Driven by the explosion, countless bullets scattered and exploded in all directions in mid-air. It really was like a huge fireworks show. At this moment, the sound of a car engine was heard behind the three of them. Hawkeye watched as an off-road vehicle sped towards him from a distance. "Hurry up and get in the car. The explosion will attract the attention of the local army and government. Don't cause unnecessary trouble. Let's go." Hawkeye waved to the crowd. Tony took a deep look at the place, turned around and followed Qin Xiao into the car. No one noticed the leader, the bald strong man. At the moment of the explosion, he was shocked and flew into the cave. Although he was injured, he managed to avoid the head-on explosion. As everyone was leaving, he was slowly crawling out of the cave, looking at the dust left by the car. He reached into his pants and pulled out a satellite phone. Advertisement. Chapter 15. If we head northwest from here, we will be in Afghanistan in half an hour. We will be safe then. After driving for more than an hour, Hawkeye stopped the car, looked at the direction, checked the GPS again and said. "It seems that we..." Boom. Black Widow's words were interrupted by an explosion. A violent explosion occurred on the ground less than 3 meters to the left of the SUV. A large amount of yellow sand was brought into the sky by the explosion. Left. Hawkeye said as he slammed the steering wheel. Black Widow simply picked up a telescope and looked to the left. Go. 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 Damn it. Black Widow's face changed drastically and he spoke anxiously to Hawkeye. Hawkeye didn't waste any time and stepped on the accelerator, and the vehicle's engine erupted with a shrill roar. No longer caring about the direction, he rushed to the right. Qin Xiao had sharp eyes and could see a figure in the distance holding an iron pipe in his hand. It should be a single-soldier rocket launcher. The explosion just now came from it. A rocket launcher definitely cannot threaten this group of people. What is scary is what is behind the person holding the rocket launcher. More than a dozen off-road vehicles drove up from the back of the sand dune one after another. Damn it, how can it come so fast, and there are so many people here? Hold on tight, there's no insurance if you fall out of the car now. The pursuing vehicles were all open-top off-road vehicles, and there was a terrorist holding a rocket launcher standing in almost every vehicle. They started bombarding the vehicles here. Hawkeye's steering wheel was turned to the left almost instantly, and then to the right the next moment. The vehicle twisted like a snake, shaking in the desert. Accompanied by occasional explosions around and yellow sand all over the sky. Qin Xiao suddenly felt that it seemed like something from an agent movie. They are coming from the north. The Afghan border is unsafe. Contact our people and notify the military to handle it. Hurry. Hawkeye drove the car and yelled at Black Widow. I'm already on the phone, you damn a hole. Black Widow was holding the phone in one hand when gunshots were heard behind him. A bullet almost grazed her arm and shattered the vehicle's rearview mirror. Da-da-da-da-da. I don't know if they ran out of rocket launchers or if the hit rate of that thing is too low. All of them mounted machine guns on their jeeps. The people in the taxi couldn't even raise their heads. The clanging sound of bullets hitting the car body never stopped. Advertisement: the other side used heavy machine guns, and the rebounding vehicles could not withstand such attacks. Hawkeye was driving and took the time to look back at Qin Xiao, Tony, and 3 others. He sighed and said to Black Widow. You drive, we must fight back. After saying that, without caring about Black Widow's reaction, he stood up and jumped between the 2 seats in the front row. Almost as soon as Hawkeye's voice rang out, Natasha Romanoff grabbed the steering wheel and moved over with a flick of her thighs. It's our turn now, assholes. Hawkeye drew his bow and arrow, no matter how bumpy the vehicle was. The upper body was almost motionless. Whoosh! An arrow is shot. Qin Xiao saw huge amounts of flames coming out of the car closest to them. A car was taken away directly by Hawkeye with an explosive arrow. The rear window had been beaten into a spider web. Keep your head down. Qin Xiao shouted at Tony and Ethan, then punched the glass open. He raised a rifle, pointed it behind him and began shooting. Qin Xiao's marksmanship is average, and in this situation, it is even more difficult to hit the target. However, he was not afraid of wasting bullets, so he switched to automatic mode and fired one burst after another. It did disrupt a lot of the enemy's machine gunners. At least they didn't dare to stand there and shoot so carelessly. Whoosh! Hawkeye aimed for a moment and shot another arrow. Another car turned into a fireball. Whoosh! Another one. Yes. Good job, man. Watching Hawkeye sit down after shooting an arrow, Qin Xiao took the time to praise him. Qin Xiao's interference, coupled with Hawkeye's 3 arrows, knocked over 3 cars. The other vehicles began to control the distance and dared not to press so closely. Their pressure was instantly reduced. They were a little further away, so I said, keep going, Cupid, keep going a few more times, there will be 5 or 6 cars in total. Qin Xiao said as he looked at Hawkeye, who was sitting down. I'd like to continue, but I'm out of explosive arrows. Also, I'm Hawkeye, not Cupid, rookie. What do you mean there are no explosive arrows? There are a group of terrorists on the other side. We are here to fight. Can't you bring more equipment? Qin Xiao shouted loudly. Advertisement: we are here to rescue people, not to fight, rookie. Hawkeye said as he checked his quiver. I know you are here to save me, but can you give me a gun too? Mongol warrior, getting beaten without fighting back is not my style. Tony suddenly interrupted. Damn it. My FG name is Hawkeye, don't give people random names. Besides, who said I can't do anything without explosive arrows? As soon as he finished speaking, Hawkeye stood up instantly and took aim briefly. 2 arrows were shot in succession. One arrow hit a machine gunner's head directly, and the other arrow went through the windshield and killed the driver. The car tilted suddenly and overturned directly in the desert. See, rookie, and you, millionaire, professional matters should be left to professionals. Qin Xiao and Tony looked at each other, and Qin Xiao shrugged. You're right, and everything you say about accurate shooting is correct, but why don't you kill both drivers with 2 arrows, so that they can flip over 2 cars? Tony, I think Qin is right. Ethan, yet. Hawkeye. After all that trouble, there were only 2 off-road vehicles left on the opposite side, and there was almost no pressure. Everyone relaxed and just waited for Hawkeye to get up and shoot them one by one. Hawkeye lived up to everyone's expectations and stood up and took down one car cleanly and efficiently. Wait until you get up again. Bang! Almost as soon as he stood up, Hawkeye fell down. A bullet was firmly embedded in the right chest of Hawkeye's bulletproof vest. Damn it! There's someone else. Hawkeye's words seemed to be the clarion call for the enemy to attack. Almost 20 off-road vehicles suddenly appeared on the sand dunes in the front left. In an instant, the sound of gunfire became continuous. A large number of bullets created a cloud of yellow sand on the left and front of the vehicle. It almost formed several deadly ballistic lines. If the car had not happened to hit a sand dune and avoided it, it would have been scrapped in one blow. This is not a solution. Can we ask the military to come directly over? Tony asked, taking advantage of the sand dunes blocking his view. We are in trouble now. Even if they come directly over, it will be difficult for us to survive this period of time. Fortunately, there are many sand dunes ahead. We can climb over them one by one to see if there is a chance to shake them off. Hawkeye said, pointing to the sand dunes ahead. Qin Xiao glanced at the endless sand dunes in front of him. With so many pursuers behind him, it was impossible for him to get rid of them by relying on these few sand dunes. There is definitely not enough time to wait for support. I remembered there were 2 big guys in the car, and I had a plan. Qin Xiao said quietly. Advertisement. Chapter 16. The 10 rings don't appear very often in the Marvel movie universe. At least that was the case until Qin Xiao traveled through time. As for the comics, Qin Xiao's understanding was limited to Mandarin and that it was a ring. But now it seems that the 10 rings should be very powerful in the Middle East. At least that's the case in the Asian region of the Middle East. It's only a short distance from the desert camp where Tony was rescued to Afghanistan. Along the way, they were chased by 6 fully armed off-road vehicles. And now, they were surrounded by nearly 20 off-road vehicles. Even if there are 2 top agents and the super soldier Qin Xiao in the car. Still, he was immediately suppressed by the opponent's powerful firepower and couldn't raise his head. Not to mention counterattacking, in this situation you won't be able to go far before being blown to pieces by heavy machine guns. When they came, in order to prevent accidents and stop pursuers, they installed 2 6-barreled Gatling heavy machine guns on their vehicle. When the car crossed 3 sand dunes in a row, Qin Xiao shouted, "Stop the car!" He jumped out of the car holding a Gatling gun. Qin Xiao held one in his hand, and Tony set up another on the ground. Hawkeye was still holding a bow and arrow, while Black Widow and Ethan were holding an automatic rifle. Once we pass these sand dunes, they will be able to disperse and chase us. This is our last chance. Qin Xiao also lay on the back of the sand dune, looked up at the opposite side and said. The terrain here can indeed hold off the enemy for a while, but we can't hold them off for long. There are too many of them, and our ammunition can't last more than a few minutes. Hawkeye said as he took a quick look at the ammunition and firearms. A few minutes is enough. We just need to get them to stop first. Qin Xiao stared at the sand dunes opposite, just waiting for all their cars to cross the dunes. Entering the natural basin between 2 dunes, that's when they were blocked in place. But Natasha Romanoff took over the conversation, but before she could finish, the sound of a vehicle roared from the opposite direction. One after another, off-road vehicles jumped out from the sand dunes and drove downhill towards this side at a rapid speed. Prepare. Qin Xiao stared at the vehicle on the opposite side until it slowly appeared within his sight. Wait until most of the vehicles on the opposite side have entered the lowest basin. Now. Qin Xiao fired the first shot, although everyone didn't know what Qin Xiao was planning. But he still followed Qin Xiao's plan and fired directly. 2 Gatling guns and 2 automatic rifles. Advertisement. It directly interweaves a barrage of death. With the help of Hawkeye, he suddenly shot down several drivers with 1 or 2 arrows. The off-road vehicles in the basin also reacted one after another. Several cars formed a straight line, and a few more cars were lined up behind them. The terrorists on the opposite side could only hide behind 2 cars and fire back. The Gatling gun's firepower was simply too strong, and 1 vehicle was not enough to keep them safe. Okay. Cease fire. Seeing that the opposite side had set up their battle formation on the spot, Qin Xiao stretched out his hand and asked everyone to stop firing. Barton, if anyone on the other side tries to drive a car, you shoot the driver with an arrow and kill him. If they don't move, you don't move either. There were only 5 people here, hiding behind the sand dunes, and occasionally changing positions to take a look. As long as the opponent moves, Hawkeye will shoot an arrow. If there are several people moving or driving on the opposite side, several guns here immediately started firing. As expected, the enemy was pinned to the spot. Is this your plan? We are running low on ammunition, what next? Black Widow said as he changed a magazine. It's my turn to perform next. Leave me some supplies. Once they start to move, we'll have another round. You guys leave now. Qin Xiao looked at the people below and said lightly. No, then what are you going to do? Tony was the first to jump out an object. Qin Xiao came to save him, but Tony couldn't just leave him alone in the desert. He doesn't know, but you guys should know. You guys go first, and I have a better chance of survival alone. This place is not far from Afghanistan. If you guys move faster, I can definitely wait for support. Qin Xiao looked at Black Widow and Hawkeye and said. Black Widow and Hawkeye looked at each other and agreed that this was the best solution at the moment. Leaving the opponent here, not to mention the ammunition problem, the key point is that no one knows which side's reinforcements will arrive first. They still don't have enough manpower. If more people come from the opposite side, they will just kill them from other directions. Then they would be surrounded by the enemy. No, I object. We must have another way. Tony saw that Hawkeye and Black Widow were actually a little moved, so he quickly objected loudly. Tony, listen to me, look here. Qin Xiao hooked his finger at Tony. As soon as Tony's eyes turned over, Qin Xiao stretched out his hand and chopped Tony's neck diagonally behind. Damn it, why did you hit me? Tony questioned, covering the side of his face. Advertisement. Qin Xiao was a little embarrassed. He was afraid that he might hit too hard and hurt Tony, so he didn't dare to use too much force, which resulted in embarrassment. That. Qin Xiao scratched his head, but unexpectedly Hawkeye stood up and chopped Tony on the back of the neck with a knife. Tony groaned and fell to the ground. What about you? Do you want to follow me or be knocked out by me? Qin Xiao glanced at Ethan with his eyes slanted. I'll go with them. I'll be obedient. Ethan cooperated and raised his hands. He had just seen them chop Tony and it took him 2 hits to get him dizzy. It looked painful, so his hands must be swollen. Ethan thought weakly in his heart. At this moment, the 2 cars on the opposite side wanted to drive in another direction and then turn back. The 2 Gatling guns turned violently, forcing the car back to its original position. Hawkeye also killed the driver of a car with 1 arrow. It's now, hurry up and leave. Hawkeye said nothing, but leaned over and picked up the unconscious Tony. Black Widow looked at Qin Xiao with some concern. Look at your eyes, you don't want to confess to me now, right? For God's sake, leave quickly and get help to find me, quickly. Qin Xiao said viciously, and took the opportunity to hit Black Widow on the butt. This time Black Widow was not angry, but rolled his eyes at Qin Xiao. Don't hold on if you can't bear it. Fight them in a guerrilla war. We will find you. Qin Xiao nodded heavily. Later, this off-road vehicle convoy came directly from the desert on the Iranian side. The leader was a fat man with a beard. It was he who commanded the convoy to form a temporary fortress during the surprise attack over the sand dunes just now. Although the opponent's firepower was fierce, the fat man was not worried at all. Because of their large numbers, it is impossible for the opponent to carry too much ammunition. This is a desert, their territory, and they will be exhausted to death if we keep on eating them. But the fat man was unsure because it took too long, so he wanted to try to break through with 2 cars first. As a result, the car had just started when the Gatling bullets from the opposite side whizzed towards it. And there is that terrifying bow and arrow, which can take someone away with just 1 arrow. Damn it! This is not a solution. If we drag it on any longer, the US military will have to take action. The bearded man patted the sand on the ground anxiously. As a result, they sent people to try to bypass it twice, but they were either forced back by a hail of bullets or shot dead by Hawkeye with an arrow. Advertisement. Chapter 17. This was not a solution, so the bearded man once again assigned a more clever terrorist. You, drive around to the east, put your head down, look in the right direction and step on the accelerator, no need to look at the road. After the unfortunate guy got in the car and was ready, the bearded man called another of his men and asked him to get in the car and get ready. Following the order from the bearded man, the first guy stepped on the accelerator and the vehicle sped towards the east. As for Qin Xiao, after all the trouble just now, everyone else had already left. Only Qin Xiao was left behind to cover the retreat. I watched as the other side's off-road vehicle drove quickly towards my right. Qin Xiao didn't expect the other party to try again so soon. He cursed inwardly. He accepted his fate and picked up the sniper rifle to target the enemy's vehicle. If I can't hit a person, I don't believe I can't hit a tire. Qin Xiao muttered while aiming at the opponent's front wheel. Bang! A gunshot rang out. Even though the other party was driving with his head down, Qin Xiao still saw a cloud of blood mist bursting out from the back of the driver's neck through the sight. The vehicle lost control and fell to the ground. Is this possible? Qin Xiao stared in amazement as he watched the shot he aimed at the tire take out the driver directly. He couldn't help but admire his good luck. Qin Xiao was happy for only a second before he secretly said something was wrong. It turned out that while he was aiming and shooting, another car rushed out from the opposite direction. Qin Xiao doesn't think he can have good luck twice in a row. He threw the sniper rifle away and grabbed two Gatling guns on the ground with both hands, one in each hand. Da-da-da-da-da. Two crazy tongues of fire spit out, and the bullets almost formed a line. Two tongues of fire intertwined in midair and directly caught up with the SUV. Under such abnormal firepower, the off-road vehicle didn't even last 2 seconds. It was torn into pieces and then exploded into a big fireball. Qin Xiao then turned the gun around and fired directly at their makeshift position. This is a warning from Qin Xiao. Don't move. If you move, I will shoot you to death. Advertisement. Definitely the main reason is that Qin Xiao found that he had few bullets left, and all he could do now was to delay as long as possible. The bearded man naturally received the warning, and this time they remained silent for more than 10 minutes. In fact, the bearded man had dispersed the vehicles to chase and intercept them from the beginning, which would have made Qin Xiao and the others very uncomfortable. If you're not careful, you'll fail. Even if you win in the end, there will be casualties. However, there are complicated factions within 10 rings, and this was originally a private job taken by the bald man. The bearded man took action only after receiving his call for help. From the very beginning, he had never intended to cause more casualties among his men because of this matter. I originally thought of chasing and intercepting them. If I could catch up, I would catch up. If I couldn't, then forget it. But he never expected that Qin Xiao and others would dare to stop counterattacking with such fierce firepower. Many of his men died, and the bearded man began to get angry. Just when the bearded man was secretly regretting this trip, his satellite phone rang. Damn it, you didn't tell me that this group of people were so vicious. Who exactly did you ask me to hunt down? Many of my men died. You must compensate me. As soon as he opened his mouth, the bearded man began to complain and emphasized his losses. He knew that Baldy had secret dealings with some big arms dealers in the United States. By emphasizing his own losses, he could then ask Baldy for more compensation such as supplies. But the bald man's next words made the bearded man go crazy. What? Tony Stark, I should have thought of that, damn it. Damn it. You should have told me from the beginning. Attack. Get in the cars, everyone. Spread out and surround the sand dune ahead. Get in the cars. Quick, quick, quick. The bearded man hung up the phone and finally began to attack with all his might. If things get serious here, Qin Xiao won't be able to handle it alone. More than a dozen cars scattered in all directions, and Qin Xiao was dumbfounded on the spot. He could only use the two most powerful Gatling guns in his hands to aim hard at the two vehicles in front. After much difficulty, the two vehicles were scrapped, and one of the Gatling guns also stalled and had no bullets left. The other gun also had very little ammunition left. Looking at the off-road vehicles in 10 rings, most of them have already driven onto the surrounding sand dunes, and some have even disappeared. Qin Xiao fired the remaining ammunition of his Gatling gun directly at the nearest off-road vehicle within his reach. Without even looking at what had happened, he threw the gun to the ground. He moved a few steps to the side, fearing that there was someone hiding below, so he was stuck in a blind spot. Using his own powerful strength, he dug a small sand pit on the ground. He buried his whole body in it. Advertisement. She pulled off the scarf around her neck and covered her face with it. This prevented sand from entering her mouth and nose and also blocked the glare from her sunglasses. A thin layer of sand covered his face, and he stretched his arms hard under the sand. He shook off the yellow sand above him, trying to bury himself completely as much as possible. This may make the surface look a little bumpy, but this is the only way now. I just hope they don't notice it for the first time. Just after I finished all this, I heard the sound of a car engine. Judging from the sounds, there should be 2 cars arriving here at the same time. And it was just 2 or 3 meters away from me. Just as Qin Xiao imagined, the first thing they paid attention to was the place where Qin Xiao and the others threw their guns. Sure enough, after parking the car, I heard their chattering voices. They must be using the walkie-talkie to report that there was no one here or something like that. After patiently waiting for the enemy to finish speaking for about 10 seconds, Qin Xiao jumped out of the sand pit. Bringing up a large cloud of yellow sand, the man swung his right hand in mid-air, and a black blade light flashed across like a horizontal sword. The head of the terrorist closest to Qin Xiao flew into the sky. Never give them the chance to shoot. With this thought in mind, Qin Xiao fired repeatedly in the air with the pistol with a silencer installed in his left hand. From the sudden leap up to the landing, before the enemy can react. 1 knife and 3 shots, 4 enemies were taken care of in one breath. There are 2 left, and in order to save time, Qin Xiao just landed. Another shot rang out, and the other hand swung the tang sword directly towards the enemy. The shot was slightly off target and hit the enemy's neck. Fortunately, he was killed on the spot, and the tang sword was thrown out by Qin Xiao's huge force and directly pierced into the forehead of the last person, penetrating all the way to the handle. Hey, Qin Xiao exhaled heavily. 6 people, except for myself, who was accurate, fast and sudden enough. It was also because when these people arrived they did not see the enemy, they put down their weapons, and the surroundings were visible again. It can only be said that the time, place, and people were right, otherwise killing people would be no problem as long as they fired a shot. You know, the people around here haven't left yet. Just as Qin Xiao thought, these 2 cars arrived here first. After reporting to Big Beard through the walkie-talkie, Big Beard immediately led his men to chase in the northwest direction. Advertisement. Chapter 18. You have to know that this place is very close to the border, and there is a US military base in Afghanistan. He didn't believe that a big shot like Tony Stark would be without military support. As long as they reached the border, it would mean that they would lose Tony Stark, the mobile super arsenal, forever. So when they heard that there was no one here, their first reaction was that they started to retreat as soon as they moved out. He quickly ordered everyone to chase in the northwest direction. Looking at Qin Xiao again, he delayed for more than 10 minutes and really wanted to make a phone call to ask Tony and the others if they were out of danger. Unfortunately, the satellite phone left by Black Widow was hit by a bullet at some point on the ground. It should be that the 2 cars in front of them just now fired a few shots in this direction. What AFG bad luck. Qin Xiao gritted his teeth, decided to send the Buddha to the west, got on an off-road vehicle, and drove at full speed towards the northwest. First let's look at the bearded man, who received the report from his subordinates. A group of vehicles sped towards the northwest. After driving for 4 or 5 minutes, the bearded man's phone rang again. I don't know who called this time. The bearded man looked serious after answering the phone. Speak directly into the intercom. Retreat, the target has been taken by the US military, retreat immediately. In the desert, more than a dozen vehicles turned around at the same time and began to retreat along the same path they came. As for Qin Xiao, he heard what was said on the car intercom. But they use some kind of Arabic language. Qin Xiao didn't understand a single word he said. Fortunately, the system's reminder sounded in time. Congratulations, host. The mission of saving Tony Stark has been completed. Bonus points, 1,000. Congratulations to the host for making friends with the first-generation Avenger Hawkeye and leaving a deep impression on him. You will get 500 points. Congratulations host, Black Widow's favorability towards you has greatly increased, and you have earned 200 points. Congratulations, host. Iron Man's favorability towards you has greatly increased. You have earned 200 points. Congratulations, host. Hawkeye's favorability towards you has greatly increased. You have earned 100 points. The reminder sounded constantly. I completed the task. I didn't expect that I would get points for furthering my relationship with the key person. This should be considered a hidden reward. Advertisement. This can be considered as living and dying together. It is true that the favorability level increases quickly this way. I just don't know why Hawkeye is only 100, is it because he is not as familiar as the other two or because Hawkeye originally had a weaker presence? But now Qin Xiao has no time to think so much, because the mission has been completed, and there is no need to chase after the people from 10 rings anymore. If he moves forward, he might meet them, even though Qin Xiao is now a super soldier and is wearing protective clothing produced by the system. But it's not a regenerative healing factor. Qin Xiao would not be able to withstand a large caliber bullet or a large thermal weapon, such as several rockets, hitting his head. You can try your best, but taking unnecessary risks is not worth it. There was no other choice but to avoid them and wait for Tony and the others to rescue him. It would be great if the satellite phone wasn't smashed. After a moment of thought, Qin Xiao immediately turned around and drove in the direction he came from. On the other side, the bearded man who had already started retreating felt more and more that something was wrong. Because the number of vehicles didn't match, I clearly took a look at the number at the beginning. Finally, I took a special look and found that except for the 2 vehicles in the front that were blown up, there should be no casualties afterwards. But if they were hit head-on, how did they escape from their blockade? It made no sense that after chasing for so long, he was directly rescued by the US military. If he is such a person, he should also meet an American. The more I thought about it, the more something seemed wrong, especially considering the archer in the opposing team at the beginning. There seemed to be only gunfire in the last wave, and the archer was never seen again. Wrong. We were fooled, they left someone behind to cover our retreat. Otherwise, the number of vehicles wouldn't match, and the 2 vehicles that passed by might have been ambushed by them. Damn it! So many of my men died and so much effort was wasted, but we got nothing in return. I was actually treated like a fool and fooled by others. The bearded man became angrier the more he thought about it, so he picked up the walkie-talkie and gave orders to his men. As for Qin Xiao, he had no idea that the bearded man had started hunting him in the desert. Just take a risk-averse attitude and go in the direction you came from. In Qin Xiao's opinion, no matter when the support arrives, it is during the insurance period. Advertisement. I decided to go back all the way, and when I had almost walked all the way, I would head directly south towards Buckistan. As long as you enter Buckistan city, you will be completely safe. But Qin Xiao overlooked one thing: the bald man who kidnapped Tony had his camp in Buckistan. Although the camp had been wiped out by them, the bald guy was still alive. There was more than one team around him. Qin Xiao had no idea about all this, including the various chaotic forces in 10 rings. He only knew that the mission had been accomplished. I got so many extra points for nothing, and the total points I got are now 3,000. There are only 2,000 points left until the second level mall opens. There was plenty of gas in the car, and he also found a pack of cigarettes inside. At this moment, he was happily driving south with a cigarette in his mouth. As I was walking, I suddenly noticed a small black dot in front of me. It looks like it should be one person. Naturally, one person could not pose much threat to Qin Xiao, so Qin Xiao drove towards the man carelessly. Who would have thought that this person heard the sound of the car engine and actually turned around and made a gesture to Qin Xiao to ask for a ride? You are so brave. You dared to stop the car of the armed elements in such a chaotic place. Qin Xiao took a look at the heavy machine gun mounted on the frame of the car and couldn't help but admire the man's magnanimity from the bottom of his heart. Thinking about the vast desert, I realized that the pursuers behind me might not be able to catch up with me. Moreover, if we leave this person here, if the terrorists behind see us, they will inevitably kill the civilian to vent their anger. With the idea of doing good deeds every day, Qin Xiao handsomely stopped the off-road vehicle with a dragon-like tail swing. He stopped beside the traveler. How's it going? Want a ride? The traveler was wearing baggy suit trousers and a blue shirt with the sleeves rolled up. She had a dirty scarf wrapped around her face to block the wind and sand, and looked very shabby. Seeing Qin Xiao stop the car, the man was very happy and pulled off the scarf. Can you take me to the nearest town? Thank you. This man showed a simple and honest smile, and Qin Xiao. When I saw the man's face clearly, it was like seeing a ghost. It's you. Advertisement. Chapter 19. When Tony Stark woke up, he was already lying in the US military base. When he opened his eyes, he saw Rhodes' familiar face. "How's the happy Hummer, Tony? Remember to ride with me next time, okay?" Rhodes said with a smile. God knows how much pressure he has been under in the past month. Rod. Tony smiled knowingly and gave his good friend a hug. "Qin, by the way, where's Qin?" Suddenly, as if he thought of something, Tony's face changed drastically. He pushed Rhodes away and asked. Looking around the room, Hawkeye, Black Widow and even Ethan were in the room. The only person missing was Qin Xiao. Considering the situation before he fell into a coma, Tony had no idea what had happened. "Rod, go save him. Qin is the only one left behind. Go save him." Rhodes obviously knew what was going on. He had also heard Tony talk about Qin Xiao. But as for what Tony said about saving people, "I'm sorry, Tony. The military can take risks for you if they are sure. But I'm sorry about your friend, Tony. He was the one who got me out. He saved me. I couldn't leave him alone in that place." Tony Stark stood up and said excitedly. "Tony, listen to me. This is a border issue. We can't just rush into the border of a non-allied country for one person. I've submitted the application form, and I believe we'll communicate with them soon." Rhodes also stood up and held Tony's arm to comfort him. "After you submit your application, the people above will be communicating. It will take at least several days. I know the morals of those people. After all, the one in danger now is not the famous Tony Stark, but an unknown person, right? Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes." Hawkeye said sarcastically, although he knew that Rhodes was also very helpless. But no matter who it was for, Qin Xiao was the only one who stayed behind, allowing everyone to go first. "Do you have any good ideas? If I remember correctly, you are agents, right? You should have some special methods or something." Tony turned his gaze to Hawkeye. "Advertisement: the military aircraft rejected our move, but our own Quinjet is on its way and should arrive in about 20 minutes. Black Widow said lightly from the side. Under the circumstances at that time, if Qin Xiao stayed behind, the chance of survival would indeed be the greatest. But that doesn't mean Black Widow isn't worried at all. However, after Black Widow and Hawkeye showed their credentials, the commander of the base refused to provide them with an aircraft. There was no other choice, so they immediately contacted S.H.I.E.L.D.'s nearest intelligence office and urgently dispatched a Quinjet. Almost an hour has passed since they left Qin Xiao. Even though Qin Xiao was a super soldier, Black Widow began to get anxious. As for Qin Xiao, he had no idea what was going on with Tony. "Even if I knew, I wouldn't really care about it now." The appearance of this person in front of him caused his brain to shut down. "Is it you?" A cry of surprise. The traveler's face showed some surprise, some confusion, and more of fear. "Do you know me? Do you know him?" Qin Xiao definitely knew him, but he never thought he would meet him in this place. "When I was in college, there was a picture of you on the wall of the laboratory, hanging together with Marie Curie, Dr. Bruce Banner. It's an honor to meet you here." Qin Xiao opened the car door and got out, then threw a bottle of water to Banner. "Drink some water. You look like you've run out of supplies." While talking to Dr. Banner, Qin Xiao looked behind him to see if anyone was catching up with him. "But in my heart, I was desperately searching for the movie The Invincible Hulk, which I had watched a long time ago. Marvel's movie timelines are just rough estimates. For example, the final battles between Iron Man and the Invincible Hulk should all take place in 2008. But I don't know which one came before and which one came after." Qin Xiao remembered Bruce Banner just after he transformed into Hulk and escaped from General Ross's pursuit. Advertisement: his first escape was to Brazil, where he met a teacher who taught him how to control his heartbeat. Later, in order to meet Mr. Lan, with whom I had communicated online, I ventured back to the United States. Finally, he disappeared after a battle with the Abomination. According to the later plot, he went to the Arctic Circle and attempted suicide but failed. Finally, he appeared in India during the Avengers alliance. It looked like the battle with the Abomination was over now. This period of time should be the middle of Banner's journey to India after his failed suicide attempt. I just didn't expect to meet him here." After roughly sorting out the timeline in his mind, Qin Xiao continued speaking. "Do you want a ride, Doc? Don't worry, I'm not a bad guy. My car is broken. I bought this car from an armed man for $30,000. You know, this is the Middle East. Qin Xiao shrugged and spoke as casually as possible. Not that he had to take Bruce Banner with him. Just as the two met, the system issued a new task. Gain Bruce Banner's trust, become his friend, and help him escape the military's tracking. System, now that I am involved between Banner and the military, am I not a little too weak? Should I leave this mission for later? Qin Xiao questioned himself in his mind. This system will only randomly issue tasks based on the people and things the host currently encounters, and will not force the host to complete them. However, the Marvel world is full of dangers. The more points the host gains, the sooner the host can unlock them all and gain more powerful powers. Although as the system said, his task was very Buddhist and there was no punishment. But the points were indeed of great help to him, so Qin Xiao gritted his teeth and accepted the task. At worst, if all else fails, you can just protect yourself first. There's no time limit anyway. So Qin Xiao got out of the car directly and casually explained why he was driving an armored vehicle. Because he knew that Banner was quite resistant to people from the American military. This is also one of the reasons why he chose to come to Asia. Compared with America and Europe, Asia is undoubtedly the place where the United States influence is the weakest. After hearing Qin Xiao's words, Bruce Banner looked embarrassed. The weapons in Qin Xiao's car did give him pressure. It was not that he was afraid of what others would do to him, but he was afraid that he would cause casualties to others after the transformation. But if he doesn't get in the car, he doesn't have many supplies in the desert. If his body can't bear it anymore, he will automatically transform. Advertisement. Chapter 20. After hesitating for a moment, Dr. Banner finally chose to get in the car. He traveled all the way back to the United States from South America, and then from the United States to the Middle East after defeating the abomination. I didn't expect that someone would catch up with me in the chaotic Middle East. I had no choice but to go to Asia. He has run out of options. And after getting an injection from Mr. Lan, he also used the breathing method he learned in Brazil. He can basically control his emotions and heartbeat perfectly. It won't transform easily. Besides, Qin Xiao doesn't look like a military man at all. It is true that Qin Xiao is not a military member, but Dr. Banner never expected this. Qin Xiao, who looks to be in his early 20s and is well-mannered, now has no less trouble than him. At least that's the case in this desert. Dr. Banner, why are you out here in the desert by yourself, and you look? I mean, you know, this is dangerous. The two strangers didn't speak and the atmosphere was a bit awkward, so Qin Xiao started chatting casually. I've encountered some not so good things. It's better if you don't know. I always bring misfortune to others. Banner said with reminiscence in his eyes. I think you are too pessimistic. There is a saying that goes, when fate plays tricks on you, never think it is your fault. Destiny. Banner muttered a few words to himself with lifeless eyes, then lowered his head and stopped talking. The two of them drove in the desert in silence. More than 10 minutes later. Billowing yellow sand rose up to the left, right, and behind Qin Xiao. 4 or 5 fully armed off-road vehicles came from 3 directions and quickly surrounded the center. It was obvious at first glance that he was coming for his car. What happened? Who are these people? Are they your companions? Dr. Banner almost turned around and looked around, then asked anxiously. No, I don't have any companions here. Sit down. Qin Xiao stepped on the accelerator hard, the engine of the off-road vehicle roared, and suddenly accelerated forward. Dr. Banner had thought that these people were coming for him, but it was obvious that they were not Americans. Moreover, Qin Xiao's behavior looked like he was running away. Advertisement, are you sure it's not your companions? Damn, their car is exactly the same as ours. As Dr. Banner spoke, he fastened his seat belt. Doctor, you are a scientist. Do you know the saying that you can see the essence through the surface? Qin Xiao suddenly turned the steering wheel because several other cars appeared in front of him on the right. Then let's talk about the essence of it. Why did so many people suddenly appear? It seems like they are here to arrest us. This is the Middle East, doctor. Don't ask why. They are here to arrest me. Congratulations. You can experience the feeling of having someone bring you misfortune. Oh. FK. Qin Xiao turned the steering wheel again because a lot of enemies appeared on the other side. Moreover, there were a lot of cars in the convoy ahead, and several of them were allocated to block the only gap. At this time, a voice with a heavy accent came from the intercom in the car. Stop the car immediately, or we will concentrate our firepower to crush you. As if to verify his words, he finished speaking. Then he saw the surrounding vehicles mounted their heavy machine guns and aimed them at Qin Xiao's car. The surrounding vehicles were getting closer and closer, and at least 20 off-road vehicles surrounded Qin Xiao from all sides. Qin Xiao sighed and stepped on the brakes resignedly. Remember to cooperate with me, doctor. After stopping the car, Qin Xiao spoke lightly. Cooperate? How can I? Dr. Banner hadn't finished speaking. Qin Xiao raised his hands high and shouted loudly to the terrorists around him. It's none of my business. I know nothing. I'm just a student traveling in the desert. It was this guy who forced me to drive for him. I don't know him at all and I don't know what happened. Dr. Banner, WTF? What happened? Dr. Banner was a little confused. All the other vehicles also stopped. At least dozens of soldiers with real guns surrounded the two of them, and Qin Xiao said those words again. I'm not like what he said, I don't know him, I'm the traveler, I'm just taking a ride. Dr. Banner looked at Qin Xiao with some anger. He's lying. Who would choose to ride in a car with a heavy machine gun hanging on it in the desert? Look at me. I'm just a college graduate. Look at this guy. The group of terrorists around the vehicle looked at Qin Xiao, who was still relatively clean and tidy. Looking at Dr. Banner again, his body was in tatters, obviously like he had been through a battle. Most of the guns were pointed at Dr. Banner. Advertisement I. Banner was about to say something when a soldier came up and hit him on the head with the butt of a rifle. Stop talking nonsense, get out of the car and put your hands up. Banner was hit dizzy and took a deep breath. When he looked up, he saw Qin Xiao winking at him mischievously. Even more angry. But the terrorists outside didn't care about that and violently pulled the two men out of the car. Dozens of rifles surrounded the two men. The crowd parted and a bearded man walked out leisurely. You two are the ones who killed so many of my people and let Tony Stark escape from me. Tony Stark? The billionaire who was supposedly kidnapped? Dr. Banner's head is buzzing. Can anyone tell me what's going on? But Qin Xiao shouted first. Don't kill me, I don't know anything, I don't know any Tony Stark at all, I'm just a freshly graduated student, I'm Huxia, and I was forced by this man to drive for him. Dr. Banner was interrupted again as the bearded man pulled out a large caliber pistol and pointed it at his head. Shut up. I'm not letting you speak yet. Dr. Banner sighed in grievance. Are you Huxia? The bearded man turned to Qin Xiao and asked. Qin Xiao nodded desperately, looking innocent and pure. You said he kidnapped you and threatened you to help him drive. The bearded man then asked. Yes, that's right. He said I'm Huxia and he'll be safer in Buckistan with me. You are lying, I am. Banner spoke a third time, and was greeted by a rifle butt again. Shut up. You are not allowed to speak until I ask you a question. I won't repeat it again. Do you understand? The bearded man lowered his body and spoke rudely to Dr. Banner. Banner was still desperately taking deep breaths. For the first time in his life, he had the urge to release Hulk and beat the guy to death. Chapter 2 is here. Today is my birthday. I'm going to go out for a walk during the day and continue when I come back in the evening. There is one more chapter, so it may be a little late. Readers who see this, it's my birthday? Don't you want to give a good review and click on the reminder, or see a small advertisement or something? Advertisement. Chapter 21. Although he thought so in his heart, Dr. Banner still tried his best to resist the appearance of Hulk. You know, before the Avengers appeared, Banner was extremely opposed to Hulk. Seeing that Banner didn't say anything, the bearded man nodded and walked towards Qin Xiao again. In his heart, he still believed what Qin Xiao said. After all, he looked thin and gentle. He was extremely scared when he was pointed a gun at himself. You, tell me in detail how you two met and what he said to you. Tell me every detail. The bearded man wanted to confirm whether Banner was the one who stayed behind to rescue Tony Stark. Anyway, Tony Stark has already run away, so it would be good if we could catch their people and get some benefits in return. He has been coveting the bald man's sophisticated weapons for a long time. With this purpose in mind, he began to speak softly to Qin Xiao. Can you please put the gun away first? Qin Xiao looked horrified and spoke cautiously. Definitely, as long as you The bearded man had just moved the gun away and was halfway through his words. Qin Xiao's eyes suddenly changed and his right hand stretched out like lightning. He grasped the bearded man's hand holding the gun and pressed hard on his palm with his thumb. In an instant, he took the bearded man's pistol in his hand. Directly took the other party's leader as hostage. Get out of the way, everyone. Qin Xiao held the bearded man hostage and constantly threatened the terrorists around him, forcing them to make way for a space. At least I ensured the safety of my back. In fact, if we capture the leader first at the beginning, we will be able to defeat Qin Xiao head-on. But Dr. Banner is here, and he is not sure if he can face the angry Hulk in the desert. This is the only relatively safe method. Who knew that the bearded man had just been kidnapped? The system's voice in my mind sounded again. Special mission released, gain the trust of the Hulk and initially gain his friendship. Upon completion of the mission, you will receive a copy of the Hulk's mutation potion, improved version. Hulk mutation potion, improved version. Gain 30% of Hulk's strength, defense, and self-healing repair ability, and avoid negative effects such as transformation and loss of sanity and anger. P.S. You have 30% of Hulk's strength, but without many negative effects. You can make the host a good person and be ABCH at ease. You deserve it. You uncle. The system's words made Qin Xiao blurt out a swear word in his mind. What does it mean to be AWRE and yet be content with being a virgin? You're the BCH. Your whole family is ABCH. Advertisement. First of all, I don't have an uncle, and I don't have any family. The host doesn't need to get angry for nothing. Just say whether you want it or not. Say it out loud. Do you want it or not? Damn it, I was actually teased by the system. But yes. Definitely. If this is the reward, then the risk is definitely worth taking. It's simply the law of true fragrance. This special mission directly forced Qin Xiao to change his strategy. I originally wanted to amuse Dr. Banner and escape safely at the same time. But the practice now is different. Damn it. Your acting is pretty good. You were the ones who rescued Tony Stark. The bearded man also believed that Banner and Qin Xiao were in the same group. But this is not America. You can't get me out of this desert even if you catch me. We are freedom fighters. We are not afraid of death. The bearded man said hatefully. Yet. Qin Xiao smiled. He said quietly as he looked at Dr. Banner who had stood up and walked to his side. You're not afraid of death, but are you afraid of a big green monster that can punch you into a meat pie? Big green monster. How do you know? The bearded man and Banner spoke almost at the same time. Qin Xiao ignored the bearded man's words and looked at Dr. Banner and said seriously. Doctor, I can help you get rid of the harassment from the military, but now, I need that big green guy to come out. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Xiao shot Dr. Banner in the chest without hesitation. You! Banner looked incredulous. He uttered a word with difficulty, then slowly fell backwards to the ground. What did you do? Did you kill your partner? The bearded man also said with a look of surprise. But Qin Xiao didn't have time to explain anything to him at the moment. I just whispered in his ear, you said you are not afraid of death, so I wish you good luck. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Xiao pushed the bearded man hard towards where Banner fell. He turned around and ran away. A puff of smoke spread out for more than 10 or 20 meters before the surrounding terrorists began to react. Advertisement. 2 people hurriedly tried to help the bearded man up, while the others pointed their guns directly at Qin Xiao in the distance. But before he could fire his gun, a roar like that of a wild beast was heard. Roar! The corpse on the ground turned into a huge amounts of green monster at some point. He suddenly stood up from the ground, and was more than 2 meters tall. His muscles seemed to be harder than steel. He was holding the bearded man's head in his hand. The bearded man, who was originally a burly man, seemed as weak as a doll in his hands. Following that earth-shaking roar, the green giant grabbed the bearded man and smashed it hard at the SUV next to him. It actually smashed the entire hood of the car and dented it. He used his flesh and blood to smash the hood of the car, along with the engine inside, into scrap metal. 70 to 80% of the bearded man's bones were shattered. He was almost smashed into a pulp and was clearly dead. The people around them began to react. He subconsciously raised the gun in his hand and shot wildly at the monster. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Dozens of guns were pointed at Hulk at the same time, and bullets poured down on Hulk crazily. Unfortunately, even Hulk's skin couldn't be broken at all. Bang! As soon as he came out, he was attacked crazily and Hulk went into a rampage state. With one kick, he sent a terrorist flying hundreds of meters away. Then he just picked up the broken off-road vehicle. He aimed the camera horizontally at the crowd. At this moment, the crowd has not completely dispersed. At least 3 or 4 of them were beaten into pulp at once. For a moment, it was a bloody mess with bullets flying everywhere. Those 10 Rings terrorists who claim they have no fear of death. At this time, they were already letting out crazy screams and starting to run away in all directions desperately. Those who were a little less courageous shouted devil and collapsed to the ground. Faced with the ferocious Hulk, he didn't even have the strength to get up and run away. Chapter 3 is here, albeit a little late. Advertisement. Chapter 22. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, you would have no idea how powerful the Hulk is. Even compared to the comics, the Hulk in the movie has been weakened thousands of times. But before the character of Level Godfather came out, Hulk was basically an unsolvable existence. The violent power contained in those punches and kicks made Qin Xiao, who was hiding far away behind a sand dune, feel extremely nervous. In front of such a violent Hulk, Qin Xiao felt that as a super soldier, there was no difference between himself and those 10 Rings terrorists. If you have to say there is, it's just the difference between 1 punch and 2 punches. System, this mission is a bit perverted. I feel like I've been beaten to death before I even opened my mouth to speak. Looking at the Hulk in the distance squeezing a man's head into a bloody mist, Qin Xiao swallowed hard. You can't see the rainbow without going through the storm. If you can't even handle this mission host, then I will send you back to be a social animal and slowly work to pay off your debts. Just live a miserable life. UBD, you despise me again. How come the systems that people traveled through give out 100-fold rebates for every purchase, or they can automatically upgrade just by eating or sleeping? Why is it so difficult for me? Not only are the tasks I'm given perverted, but I'm also regularly attacked as the host. Complaints are complaints. The task still needs to be done, and the rewards are indeed very attractive. The group of 10 Rings people below were killed by Hulk in a few strokes. The rest either got scared out of their wits or ran away madly. Many people were killed and most of the cars were smashed to pieces. I guess Hulk should be a little calmer now. Qin Xiao made up his mind and stood out from behind the sand dune. Hulk. Qin Xiao greeted Hulk enthusiastically. She smiled as if she was a village beauty standing at the entrance of the village and seeing her lover returning. Maybe the only difference is that there is no floral handkerchief swaying in the wind on the hand. Roar. Unfortunately, Hulk didn't understand this situation. He roared, jumped from a distance and landed heavily in front of Qin Xiao. Then without saying a word he threw a punch towards Qin Xiao. When Hulk pounced on him, the pressure was so great that Qin Xiao almost turned around and dodged subconsciously. Advertisement. I managed to steady myself with great difficulty. Who would have thought that a fist as big as a casserole would hit him directly? So irritable. Throw a punch first. Do you think you are Wei? Qin Xiao muttered to himself as he quickly dodged to the side, avoiding Hulk's fist. He quickly said it loudly. Wait, Hulk, I'm not in the same group as them. I mean no harm. I just need to talk to you. Hey. I know you don't really want to hurt others, you just can't help but get angry and cause damage, right? I have a great solution. While Qin Xiao was dodging Hulk's fists, he quickly said that he had heard Hulk's own complaints in the movie Thor, Ragnarok, hoping to impress Hulk a little. Perhaps it was due to the remaining impression of Banner that made Hulk feel that Qin Xiao was indeed different from the group of people who shot and attacked him. Or perhaps Qin Xiao's words played a certain role. Hulk's third fist stopped in mid-air. In the movie The Invincible Hulk, Banner should have some kind of memory sharing with Hulk. It may not be comprehensive, but it does exist. However, in the later Avengers alliance, the memories of Hulk and Banner seem to have become non-interference. Here, they have a very vague impression of the people and things that the other has come into contact with. Call. Qin Xiao let out a long breath. I'm not your enemy, Hulk. I want to be your friend. Can we have a good chat? Qin Xiao was worried and stretched out his hands to show that he had no hostility towards Hulk. Friend. Hulk mumbled the word. Then. Bang. A very sudden punch was thrown, directly knocking Qin Xiao more than 20 meters away. It just landed and created a cloud of yellow sand. Hulk followed closely and jumped to Qin Xiao's side. He stretched out a pair of strong arms and held Qin Xiao in his hands. Solution: tell Hulk, or Hulk will tear you apart. Just when Qin Xiao thought he was dead, Hulk started talking to Qin Xiao. Advertisement: there are many bad people in this world, even some monsters that are different from ordinary people. I'm definitely not talking about you. I like your skin color. I mean Abomination, for example. The ugly guy you fought in New York. Do you remember him? Being able to communicate is a good start, Qin Xiao said happily. Hulk remembers that he is very strong, but he was still defeated by Hulk. Roar. Hulk's behavior is 3 parts childish and 3 parts beastly. Speaking of the act of defeating Sengyi, he roared towards the sky, and it felt like a male beast was showing off his achievements. Hey! Hey! Big guy, you can yell all you want, but can you please let me go first? You're strangling me to death. When Hulk roared, he subconsciously used some strength with his hands and almost strangled Qin Xiao to death. Hulk forgot, you are too weak, Hulk hasn't even used his strength yet. As Hulk spoke, he loosened his grip on Qin Xiao's hands. Ahem. Qin Xiao coughed twice and straightened his clothes. Not everyone is as strong as you, Hulk. You should learn to control your strength. Hulk's power is very strong, why do you want to control it? You said there are monsters and bad guys, where are they? Take Hulk to fight them. Hulk lowered his head and roared loudly at Qin Xiao, and the sound made Qin Xiao's ears buzz. I have to find the monsters and bad guys first, Hulk. We need some intelligence. The bad guys won't just appear in front of us automatically. Take Hulk and find him. Now. Another roar. No, no, no. The bad guys are far away. We need to take a plane. Do you know planes? Hulk is too big to take a plane. You have to turn into Banner first. Airplane. Hulk muttered something. I don't know if it brought back some bad memories, like the military attacking his helicopter. Hulk hates airplanes. Hulk hates Banner even more. Hulk doesn't want to become Banner. Don't. Hulk clenched his fists again, and was about to go berserk again. I know, I know. Listen to me, I don't like Banner either. He's very annoying because he speaks in a pedantic way. But we need Banner's help, right? Whether it's looking for bad guys or just going out, Banner is more convenient than Hulk, right? Just like facing a naughty child who is ignorant of the world, Qin Xiao slowly began to try to talk to Hulk about some principles and conditions. The first chapter is here, there will be another chapter in the afternoon and evening. Advertisement. Chapter 23. Although Nick Fury always acts like he is the only one who can save the world, he also hides too many unknown secrets. But he still has one outstanding advantage, which is his ability to make decisions quickly and to take responsibility. After receiving reports from Hawkeye and Black Widow, I don't know what means Nick Fury used or what deal he reached. Soon, a Quinjet landed at a US military base in Afghanistan. Along with the flight officer came a pass allowing Bucky Stan to enter. Definitely, it is limited to this shield plane, and military soldiers are prohibited from entering. Black Widow and Hawkeye were definitely coming along. Originally, Rhodes wanted to stop Tony Stark, but Tony was too determined. Plus there are indirect hints from Black Widow and Hawkeye. In the end, Rhodes had no choice but to come along. Along the way, Hawkeye kicked the pilot out of the driver's seat. The Quinjet was forcibly flown like a helicopter. It was almost a reconnaissance all the way along the desert. Finally, they found traces of the bearded man's convoy and followed them to the place where Qin Xiao was stopped. What on earth is going on here? As soon as they got off the plane, the group of people were so shocked by the scene before them that they were speechless. The traces of Hulk's battle were simply a disaster scene. Broken limbs, off-road vehicles dismantled into parts, and bullet casings all over the ground. All of these mean that some brutal battles have taken place in this place. Tony, was this done by your fighting teacher? Are you sure he needs us to rescue him? Rhodes looked at everything in front of him, his face full of shock. This doesn't look like something Qin Nang left behind. It looks more like King Kong has been here. Black Widow was also confused. Others might not know what the destructive power of super soldiers is, but S.H.I.E.L.D. knows it quite well. Captain America's physical data after the successful transformation has been kept by Peggy Carter and Howard Stark. It is still in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secret files. Hey! I'm here. Everyone was wondering what had happened. Qin Xiao emerged from behind a sand dune at some point in time. Advertisement. He waved to the crowd. Seeing Qin Xiao coming out, several people hurriedly ran towards the sand dune. After finally climbing up the sand dune, I saw Qin Xiao acting as if nothing had happened, and there was a man lying on the ground on the back of the dune. A naked man. You found true love here. Tony was in a good mood when he saw that Qin Xiao was fine, and teased with a smile. But when Black Widow and Hawkeye saw Bruce Banner, their faces changed drastically. Bruce Banner? Qin, why is he here? Did you knock him out? I'm not talking about the one on the ground. No, I did meet him, I just made friends with him. Qin Xiao smiled slightly and said to Black Widow. Qin Xiao was in a very good mood at the moment. The mission had been successfully completed, if Black Widow and the others hadn't come over. He had already drunk the bottle of glowing green serum in his pocket. God knows how much effort he put into getting Hulk. Not only did he promise to take him to fight monsters, but he also had to promise to let Dr. Banner let him out for a walk from time to time. If Banner doesn't agree to your request, just kill him and I can get out. Remember, don't lie to Hulk. Otherwise, you'll be torn to pieces. This was the last sentence the naughty boy Hulk said to Qin Xiao. I came here originally to save Tony, but I didn't expect to get a Banner in the end. For a nuclear weapon level character like Hulk, S.H.I.E.L.D. naturally didn't dare to let him go back on a military plane. So Tony had to go back with Rhodes, while the others chose to fly back to the United States directly in the Quinjet. Nick Fury is waiting to meet Qin Xiao in a secret base. Qin, let's talk after we go back and have a drink. Tony had a lot of questions about Qin Xiao, but he also knew that this was not the place to talk. He gave Qin Xiao instructions before leaving. Go back and check your body carefully. Qin Xiao smiled slightly, knocked on the reactor on Tony's chest and laughed. New York is one of the largest cities in the world. Advertisement. It is also the famous city of destruction in American movies, where superheroes and villains gather. How could there be no S.H.I.E.L.D. branch in this city? But no one knows, except the apparent distribution. Nick Fury also has a secret base here. This secret base, which few people inside S.H.I.E.L.D. know about, is actually under the Hudson River. Following Hawkeye and Black Widow, we entered an abandoned subway tube from the subway line. After many twists and turns, we entered an abandoned sewer pipe and then went around several times. Only then did he enter the secret base through a hidden portal. This place is close to the mouth of the Hudson River. In the lobby of the base, Qin Xiao even saw huge amounts of floor-to-ceiling windows, and outside was the bottom of the Hudson River. Not only could Qin Xiao see the river water, he could also see several freshwater fish swimming along the river. Standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window was none other than director Liu Dan from Marvel. He was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in his classic cool pose, leaving a bald head at the back of his head. Aren't you afraid that this base will be discovered? Not only are the windows open, but there are also underwater searchlights on outside. Qin Xiao ignored the cool boiled egg and asked through the floor-to-ceiling window. First of all, from the outside, this is just a cement slab. You can ask your good friend Stark for technical advice. As for the lighting, there are many reasons that can explain it. Nick Fury turned slowly. He stared at Qin Xiao with one eye, reached out and picked up a stack of documents from the desk and threw it to Qin Xiao and said. The most important point is that it is us, not you. Welcome to join S.H.I.E.L.D., Super Soldier Mr. Qin. Qin Xiao took the file, opened it and saw that it was his own information. And what about the identity S.H.I.E.L.D. gave me, agent, trainee agent? Am I reading this correctly? As far as I know, your agents are ranked from level 1 to 10, and the director is the only one at level 10. I never knew there was such a thing as an internship. This is a new position created for you by director Nick Fury. The report shows that there is no problem with your position, but your personality is not very suitable for working in the intelligence department. We need to observe you for a while. Black Widow came to Qin Xiao and explained. What report? Psychological evaluation and personality analysis report. Also, I wrote this report. Black Widow took the document from Qin Xiao's hand with a smile and formally introduced him to Qin Xiao. Nick Fury, Director of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency, my boss, definitely yours from now on. Chapter 2, there will be another chapter at 8:30 p.m. Advertisement. Chapter 24. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes helplessly and said lazily. Hello, Director, I want to ask you, when we came in just now, you were standing in front of the French window like this. Qin Xiao struck the same pose as Nick Fury just now, with his back to everyone and his hands behind his back. Have you been standing here like this waiting for us, or do you have some surveillance system hidden here? You suddenly put on this grim look when we got to the door. Nick Fury. All in all, meeting Nick Fury was generally pleasant. Secondly, when letting Qin Xiao join S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury had no intention of letting him enter the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization normally. Instead, he used a certificate to restrain Qin Xiao, ensuring that Qin Xiao would have priority in joining the Avengers plan when it started. As for Dr. Banner, after initial communication with Nick Fury, he used his own personal resources to place him in a forest in northern Canada. There was no one living there, and the scenery was beautiful. Even if he transformed into Hulk, there was still enough space for him to go out and have some fun from time to time. Nick Fury provided a laboratory there for Dr. Banner to continue his research. A large number of S.H.I.E.L.D. personnel were also stationed on the periphery to ensure that Dr. Banner would not be disturbed by others. Or it could be to ensure that Hulk doesn't go out and disturb others. After resolving the dispute with S.H.I.E.L.D., Qin Xiao did not return to Los Angeles to find Tony. Instead, he found a hotel in New York and stayed there. He planned to take the Hulk serum first. I have consulted the system before and it is known that the process of taking the serum will only cause slight pain. However, along with the transformation, the body may excrete a large amount of impurities from the blood and even the bone marrow. Sitting in the round bathtub, the clean Qin Xiao picked up a small bottle of fluorescent green liquid next to him. Hulk Super Serum, this color looks like a biological weapon from a movie. Qin Xiao muttered a few words in his mind, opened the bottle, tilted his head back, and drank it all up. Hey? There doesn't seem to be any reaction. Ah. Before he finished speaking, Qin Xiao suddenly let out an extremely miserable scream. It felt like a C4 charge going off inside my body. It was as if the whole person was severely crushed by a hydraulic press, and all the muscles, bones and internal organs were crushed into pieces in an instant. The sudden pain was beyond Qin Xiao's endurance. But the pain came and went quickly. In just 2 or 3 seconds, all the pain in the body disappeared. Qin Xiao was already lying at the bottom of the bathtub, unable to move. Advertisement, but every nerve in the body began to beat wildly spontaneously. Every part of his body began to twitch constantly, and he looked like he had epilepsy. After the twitching, the body starts to itch. Qin Xiao could feel himself slowly regaining control of his body. The bone marrow, muscles, and internal organs in the body are being reorganized and remanufactured. Itch, the itchiness of countless bugs crawling in your body, in your blood vessels, and between your bones. The pain was even more unbearable than the one just now. Ah! Qin Xiao opened his mouth and uttered a meaningless sound. His body was twisting irregularly and his head was banging wildly against the ceramic bathtub. Bang! Bang! No ordinary bathtub can withstand his torment. He tore the bathtub into pieces in just a few strokes. Fortunately, the hotel is high level enough and the sound insulation is better than expected. Otherwise, if Qin Xiao had made such a sound, someone would have called the police long ago. The intense itching lasted for about 5 minutes. Qin Xiao, with a look of despair on his face, lay among a pile of ceramic fragments and filth oozing from his body. In the last minute or so, almost all the blood and bone marrow in his body were drained. Instead, it is the bone marrow and blood that the body recreates after taking the Hulk serum. Just as the system said, there appeared to be no changes on the surface of the body. But the explosive power contained in the muscles is far beyond the scope of humans. Pick up a piece of ceramic fragment nearby. Qin Xiao took a deep breath and slashed his arm hard. It felt like being lightly scratched by an ordinary person's very rounded fingernail. An extremely slight tingling sensation on the skin. Apart from that, there wasn't even a white mark left on the skin. Instead, Qin Xiao used too much force and directly crushed the ceramic in his hand. Looks pretty good. Qin Xiao muttered something, then started screaming wildly in his mind. System, come out here, is this the slight pain you mentioned? For a true iron-blooded man, yes. Advertisement. The system's unheard voice sounded in Qin Xiao's mind. Qin Xiao almost choked to death by these words. All right. I can't afford to offend you. I won't argue with something that's not human. After complaining harshly and looking at the mess on his body, Qin Xiao reached out and gently turned on the water switch, wanting to wash the dirt off his body. Even though I tried to touch the switch as gently as possible. But the metal switch was still blown away in one go. No need to be so exaggerated, right? Qin Xiao smiled bitterly and tried to stand up, holding on to a relatively intact part of the bathtub surface. As a result, before he could even apply any force, the only remaining piece of intact ceramic shattered into pieces. Alas! It seems I have to adapt carefully for a while. Since it has come to this, Qin Xiao simply violently twisted the water pipe off at the switch. Let the 2 jets of cold and hot water wash over your body. But I discovered an additional benefit. It's easier in Liang Shui, as we are just entering autumn. But the hot water over there is boiling water at 100 degrees. Even though it was sprayed on his body, Qin Xiao didn't feel the burn at all. I just feel a little bit of warmth. It seems that not only the defensibility, but also the resistance to high and low temperatures has been improved a lot. Indestructible, water and fire cannot get along, this is what this situation is about. Qin Xiao happily washed his body. I hid in the hotel for several days. Even for meals, we had to ask the hotel staff to open the door and bring them in. There's no way, everything he touches breaks into pieces now. Every time after a meal, I would look at the tableware, most of which was damaged and unrecognizable. If Qin Xiao hadn't asked someone to use his credit card to pay a considerable deposit, I'm afraid the hotel will just kick everyone out. It took Qin Xiao 5 full days to learn how to control the surging power in his body. Ignoring the weird looks from the hotel staff, I paid the money, checked out, and boarded a plane to Los Angeles. Obadiah is still being secretly monitored by S.H.I.E.L.D., and Tony hasn't had a thorough discussion with him about the whole matter. This is Qin Xiao's task. As for the points, Qin Xiao must solve it himself. Advertisement. Chapter 25. Malibu Beach, Los Angeles. After Tony Stark came back, he only appeared in front of reporters once and announced that Stark Industries would no longer manufacture weapons. He hid in the laboratory by himself, and saw no one except Pepper, who came to report to him every day. He hid himself away and devoted himself to developing the armor he envisioned. The drawings designed in Afghanistan have been brought back and entered into the computer. At this moment, in front of Tony, there was a 3-dimensional projection, which was exactly the appearance of Mark-1 that he had built in the cave using existing resources. Jarvis, remove the outer shell, keep the core technology the same, and repackage it with a newly designed outer shell. Yes, sir. As Jarvis's voice sounded, the 3-dimensional projection in front of Tony began to rotate. The outer parts of the armor scattered and disappeared. Then, more images of armor parts appeared out of thin air. Around the arc reactor in the middle, each item was installed in an orderly manner. The modeling of Mark-2 has been preliminarily completed. How's it going, Jarvis? Tony reached out and turned the projection, looking carefully from front to back and left to right. I have to say, sir, your work is beyond the times. I'm always ahead of my time. Jarvis, help me place the order, I need them to send the first batch of materials as soon as possible. Finished the initial appearance of the warframe. Tony Stark picked up another launching device on the table. In his conception, this launch device can be used as a power system as well as a laser cannon as a conventional weapon. It seems I have to replace the reactor immediately. The current speed is too low and can't keep up with the consumption of the armor. Muttering something with his head down, Tony took a brand new arc reactor from the table. Good afternoon, Mr. Qin. Mr. Stark is in the lab. I'll let him know you're here right away. Tony originally gave Qin Xiao access to the house, but that did not include the underground laboratory. Advertisement. It turns out that the only 2 people who have the password and the permission to enter Jarvis are Pepper and Rhodes. But now, there is one more. Mr. Qin, Mr. Stark asked you to go down directly. The basement will be open to you in the future. The password to the door is 106. This password is real. I specifically watched the part where Pepper Potts entered the basement in Iron Man 1. When Qin Xiao entered the basement, he just saw Pepper Potts putting her hand into Tony Stark's chest and pulled out a wet copper wire from it. I have to say, it still looks pretty disgusting and scary. There is a hole in the chest and someone puts a person in it. Oh shit, what did I see? Is this a new position for the 2 of you? Tony, you entered women's bodies too many times before, and now it's women entering your body instead. Hey! Qin, I don't think you are that smooth talking. Little Lei Jiao was horrified at first when she did this, but after Qin Xiao teased her, she immediately recovered. That's because you don't know him well enough, Pepper. You'll find out later. Compared to him, I'm as honest as a cow on your uncle's farm. Tony asked Pepper to insert the wires of the new reactor base into his chest, and then walked towards Qin Xiao. Tony, are you going to stay like this? I mean, you're not going to go get a doctor to treat you properly, take out the shrapnel or something. Qin Xiao pointed at Tony's chest. Honestly, the night light on your chest is pretty cool, but it's a lot of stuff stuffed into your body. When talking about the reactor in his chest, Tony became serious for a rare moment. I won't take it out. This thing saved me. I'm not just talking about my life. It determines what kind of person I will be in the future. I have to keep it to remind myself. Tony, what do we do with this old one? Little Pepper is still Tony's personal assistant. When she saw Qin Xiao coming to find Tony, she was preparing the basement and asked Tony what to do with the old reactor. Destroy it, burn it. You know I have many characteristics, but nostalgia is definitely not one of them. Okay. Pepper went upstairs with the reactor. Qin Xiao knew that she would seal the old one in a transparent cover and give it to Tony as a gift. And when Obadiah snatched the reactor from Tony's chest, it was this old one that saved Tony's life at the critical moment. Advertisement. But now that there is one more Qin Xiao in the world, this plot should be avoidable. Besides, Qin Xiao came here this time just to resolve this matter. Hey, Tony, don't you have anything you want to ask me? About Afghanistan. Watching little Lei Jiao go upstairs, Qin Xiao spoke first. Even if we don't consider the issues of system and tasks, the two sides have known each other for such a long time. From a personal perspective, the two sides have indeed become friends. Apart from the secrets of the system and time travel, Qin Xiao did not intend to hide everything from Tony, as that would create some estrangement between the two of them. A guy came to see me a few days ago. He was from an intelligence agency with a long and ugly name. What was his name? Anyway, he was an agent with a very touching hairline. Tony gestured to his forehead and described the appearance of the person who came. He told me everything about you, your parents' death, where your serum came from, how you met that sexy agent chick, etc. You also said that you joined them to save me, but I won't thank you because you lied to me. Your energy comes from the serum of super soldiers, not some Hyuxia Kung Fu. Hell, I even paid you more than a month's salary. Tony took out 2 bottles of beer from the refrigerator and handed one to Qin Xiao. Tony Stark, don't expect to hear thank you easily from him. But Qin Xiao knew that even though he was saying that he had deceived him, his eyes were full of gratitude. Otherwise, why would he give me the password to the basement today? Well, actually you didn't lose anything. You even won millions of dollars in the casino, all because of me. Did the agent with the touching hairline tell you that much? As Qin Xiao spoke, the image of the good-natured agent Phil Coulson appeared in his mind. Tony asked doubtfully, taking a sip of his beer. Are you lying to me about something else, UBD? That's not the case. It seems that he definitely didn't tell you clearly how I found the secret cave that the US military had spent more than a month trying to find. Oh. Tony seemed to have thought of something. He raised his head slightly and motioned Qin Xiao to continue. Yesterday someone asked me if I had any manuscripts saved and how many chapters I would update. I have been working hard to save them these days, and I will update 3 chapters a day. After the 100,000 word website recommends it, I will work hard to make a burst of chapters. Here is the first chapter, and there will be more chapters at noon and in the evening. Advertisement. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.